Okay, maybe, maybe this will work. Maybe. Who knows? We'll try this again, right? Can we try this again? I don't know if this is working or not. Hopefully it is. Y'all will have to tell me if this works. Oh my gosh. Of course. Why would, oh my gosh, thank God. Yay! Oh my gosh. I was so, oh my gosh. I cannot tell you all. Oh my gosh. That's just, I've been so ready for this stream today, and I was like getting everything prepped. Everything will be great. And then, of course, 5 minutes in, it's like, which my computer is so old and glitchy. It's only a matter of time. It's on its last leg. It is nearing the end. So I was like, please, computer, just make it through one live chat for me. That'd be awesome if you could. Thank y'all. I'm so glad it's working. So hello, let's try this again. I hope you all are having an awesome morning, afternoon, evening, whatever your time zone is. But like I said, I'm so sad that today is the first Sunday that we don't have banana fish to start with. It's really hard because it's been like, it's been 6 months of banana fish watching week to week. And this is the first Sunday that I'm like, oh, there's not a banana fish to wake up to. So I'm not going to lie. It feels like there's a little bit of a void there, just a bit. And so I'm hoping like, okay, maybe, we've got these new shows that I'm going to start watching, and I'm already really liking both of the new shows I'm watching. So I'm like, okay, that's helping in some way or form, but it's just not the same without banana fish. So that's what we're talking about today. We are talking about banana fish and celebrating this masterpiece of a show. Y'all, oh my God. So I have it's 8 a.m. or 8:08 here. So I have my giant thing of coffee, and I'm like gearing up for this because so much to talk about, right? So much to talk about. So first of all, I want to say, and I know I've said this in the reactions, but those of you that voted for this show, y'all know who you are. Thank you. Thank you. Because I'd heard of banana fish since it came out. I think, what was it, back in 2018, the anime came out. I'd heard of it, and people were talking about it, and it was mentioned, but it's such an underrated show that I feel like people were you didn't know unless you knew, sort of thing. Like, unless you knew about the show, you really didn't know about it. And so I'd heard of banana fish, and people were talking about Ash and Eiji, and I was like, okay, I had no intention of ever watching it because it just wasn't on my radar. And then when we did that poll back when Given ended, back in September of last year, you all were like, it was like 70% of you wanted me to watch banana fish. And I was like, ooh, okay. Clearly, that is the appropriate size of coffee for banana fish. Yes, Katara, it is. Yes, Cater, it is. Oh man. So, I'm really thankful y'all voted for this show, because I absolutely loved it. It's great. And I'm so thankful that I watched it. I was in pain for a lot of it. So, but it's one of those shows that I feel like you watch it almost because of that, because it's going to emotionally cut to your core, but it's so good that you're okay with it. I feel like we're a bunch of masochists for watching this show. I agree. Keith Treason on there on the chat. I agree. I think if it was on Netflix or Crunchyroll or another platform, that it would be more people would watch it than just Amazon Prime. But on the other end, I think that then, God, if it gets on Netflix or Crunchyroll, I'm going to go back and edit all the reactions, because copyright will just instantly be like, nope. I can't remember how I was lured into banana fish. I was lured via poll, so y'all are to blame. Y'all are to blame for my suffering. If you aren't in pain after this show, then what were you watching? I don't know anybody that could watch this show and either not cry or not have some kind of visceral reaction like yelling or screaming or just having an anxiety attack. Because yeah, I'll be honest, and I know I tell you guys this on other shows, I don't cry a lot with TV, and I don't really get emotional as far as crying goes. And so if a show makes me cry, that's a pretty big mark in my book. And so far, there have been like 3 anime that I've watched this last fall or read that have made me cry. And I'm like, y'all are picking the good ones, because I've not cried watching an anime up until I started doing these reactions for this channel. I guess I just wasn't watching or reading anything sad. I think the only exception was I watched Grave of the Fireflies, and that's literally one of the saddest movies of all time. One of the best, but one of the saddest. So, yeah, the manga. We're going to talk. I've got a agenda with this chat. So, I don't know how long it'll be. It'll be recorded, so there's that. You guys can always go back and watch it if you have to leave or anything. But I'm so glad y'all are joining. We're going to talk about the manga. I'm going to react to Private Option, going to react to Garden of Light. And then there are some questions that some fellow patrons have asked that I'm going to answer in this chat. I'm going to kind of split them up. So there's a lot of stuff to go through, but let me look here on the chat. 70% of you sadistic. Yeah, there's a couple of you that when I started the show, you were like, Romania, have fun. And I'm like, what are you saying? Sometimes you just need the sadness. Yeah, we need to experience a wave of emotion. Oh, Private Opinion. Oh, I'm sorry. Whoops. I guess I thought it was Private Option, like he was a hitman. So it was something along those lines. And now I feel I'm going to have to go back and edit that thumbnail because it says Private Option on it. Oh, okay. And yes, I was all excited because Garden of Light is in volume 19. And I will show you all where the manga ends, where the anime ends in the manga. And so this is all that's left of episode 24. And the rest of this chunk is Angel Eyes and Garden of Light. So I've already read Angel Eyes. I forget which one of you it was, but one of you suggested that I read it and sent me the link to Angel Eyes. And so I unfortunately read it after Shorter died in episode 9. By the way, stream spoilers. This stream's gonna be nothing but spoilers. So after Shorter died, I was at work one day and I was sent that link and I'm like, you know what? It's a boring day at work. There's nothing going on. There's nobody here. I'll just read Angel Eyes. And I teared up and started crying. like at my desk, I was like, and one of my coworkers came by. I was like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. It's just something in my eye. It's great. It's just, so it was highly embarrassing. I was like, it's fine. But yeah, I was all excited to read Garden of Light. And then in the final episode reaction, so many of you were like, Garden of Light broke me. Garden of Light crushed my soul. And I was like, oh, what have I signed up for? What have I signed up for? Ooh, I don't know. So, I'm a little trepidatious going into this now. I was all excited when I was recording the reaction episode 24. I'm like, oh, Garden of Light, it'll be great. And now I'm like, I'm nervous to read this in front of you all. I'm real nervous. So there's that. But thank you all for voting for this show. And secondly, before we get into all of the spoilers that have to do with this show. Second, thank you all so much for not spoiling me. I cannot begin to thank you for not spoiling me, because that has been my biggest fear going into this show. When I started it, someone commented, I think it was like episode 1 or 2, someone commented and said, be careful of spoilers. And they made the caveat. They were like, most of the community that watch this show understand how many twists and turns are in it. And so they're like, okay, we're not going to spoil you until after you've watched the episode because we want you to experience all of that. And I was like, okay, hopefully that holds true, because I was so nervous. I can't believe y'all didn't spoil Shorter's death. I can't believe you all didn't spoil that, because he was my favorite character. And looking back on like episodes 5 and 6, I was like, Shorter's my favorite character. I really love Shorter. I hope nothing bad happens to him. So looking back on that, I was like, oh, y'all could have spoiled me so bad, but you didn't. You weren't trolls. And I'm so thankful. That's my biggest fear, reacting to a show that I know nothing about. My biggest fear is that I'm going to look in the comments and somebody's going to give me a spoiler. That's my every week, because I always look at your comments and I try to respond to everyone's comments because I like talking to you all about the shows. And my biggest fear is that somebody, even unintentionally, is going in the comments to be like, yeah, it really sucks when that happens. And it's like, no. And then because it's like once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. And it's like, no. Oh my God, no. So yeah, spoilers is the biggest unspoken rule of the Banana Fish fandom. I love it. I love that's the unspoken rule, because it's going into the show and not being spoiled is so wonderful, because you get to experience every twist and turn and the roller coaster of emotions. And it's the best thing. It's like, I can't describe like some of my favorite moments, like the whole episode 9, it broke me. That was like the episode that like officially broke me into Banana Fish. And I think, Digino Vistar, I can't say your name right, but Digino Vistar, if I can ever talk, Digino Vistar, you commented, you're like, welcome to Banana Fish after episode 9. And I was like, I feel like I've been initiated. I'm like, cool. I'm part of the, and now that episode 24 is over, I really feel like I can suffer with you all because there's nothing else to spoil except for like Garden of Light and Private Opinion. There's those. Yeah, episode 9 is the initiation episode. If you can make it past that, I'm like, oh. So with this show, I know we've talked about this, I feel like the first core and the second core, episodes 1 through 13 are a thing. And then episodes 14 through 24 are another thing. Like they're totally going back and rewatching the episodes, because right before episode 24, I went back and rewatched, and it's like once Arthur dies, the show turns. Like the show takes a turn and it just gets really dark and things get really escalated, and everything mounts up and all the tension just gets crazy. And then episode 24 happens and you're like, oh wait, that's it? No. Like you said, we need that cheesy airport scene. Like what? No. Like I've gone back and made myself suffer and watched episode 24 a few times in preparation for this stream. And it gets worse and worse each time I watch it. It gets worse because it's just, I was okay with Ash's decision until I saw the airplane ticket. And then at that point, I was like, oh. And in my head, it's so petty, but in my head, I was like, Eiji's not getting that money back. eBay's not going to get the money back for that airplane ticket. And that's the pettiest thing in the world. But in my head, I was like, you gonna get a refund on that? It's just, it's bad. It's bad. And it's just that the music and everything about it all at once, it all just adds up. And then the last scene where the librarian is like, oh, hey, are you okay? Oh, must be a good dream. And it's like, no, he's dead. It reminded me so much of, did Ash even have a passport? Oh. Claire, did he? Eiji didn't think this through. Yeah. Quit trying to fill in the plot holes, Claire. We're all suffering. Yeah, just the very ending reminded me a lot of Full Metal Alchemist, when the nanny goes and checks on Hohenheim in the cemetery and finds him, and she's like, and he's smiling. That's what it reminded me of. And I was like, oh, buddy. And it just, oh, that's true, Keith. If he traveled with Dino, he could have had a passport. That's very true. But also he's a wanted criminal. It's the thought that counts. It's the thought that counts, right? So, oh my gosh, you guys. I know some of you in the chat are mentioning the animatic for Garden of Light. And I've said this to a few people in the reaction for episode 24, but I'm going to react, obviously, to the manga version. And I've got links. I'll send you guys a link here in a second to it because it was in the old chat. And then, of course, the old chat is dead. So when I go back and edit this, I'll have to include that in there. But I'll include you guys a link to Garden of Light and Private Opinion as I read them so you guys can follow along. But I'm going to read this first. And then what I am planning to do is go back and do a separate video to put on YouTube where I react to the animatic for Garden of Light, because I've heard the animatic is really good. And I feel like it's going to be just like a double dose of pain. I'll read the manga version first, and then I'm going to go back and watch it animated and just suffer all over again. So it's Banana Fish. It's the endless gift of suffering. Why not? Why not? Oh my gosh. Okay. So that's my plan anyway. And then I'm also Graceful Nanami. You pointed out too that there are more side stories with Banana Fish. There is Flyboy in the Sky, Cape Cod 1985, and New York Sense that are 3 different side stories for Banana Fish. And I do want to go back and react and read to those. And so I'll probably do a separate video with those 2 so that I can show the manga on one side of the screen and you guys can follow along with that. I think that would be fun. I didn't realize there was all those extra side stories. I remember Cape Cod 1985 had been mentioned in the reactions like way back in episode 5 or 6. And so I'm like, oh, okay. So hope the creators are okay. I will give them credit. I will include links and give them credit. So I hope they're okay too. Please be okay, creators. I hope it's all right. I'm giving them support, right? Hopefully. But yeah, torture, alternate endings. We're going to talk about that because one of the questions is talking about the ending. So let's dive into this, guys. We've been like 17 minutes opening this up, and there's like 53 of you. I'm so excited. My giant cup of coffee. Okay. So what I want to do is talk about the manga first because, oh my gosh, if you can get the manga, get the manga. It's so good. It's so good. And I got lucky. Thank you. My giant soup cup that is a coffee cup. I got lucky. I went on eBay and I started looking for the English translations of the manga because the manga is cheaper than the Blu-ray and DVDs. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Because this isn't really a DVD. It's not really a distributed show, which is sad. But I tried to find the English translations of this, and they're hard to find. Like most of them are out of print. And I know that there's a lot of printing companies right now with manga that because of COVID, they are out of print with several editions. And so they're now just waiting to reprint them and get them back out. So I got lucky, and on eBay, somebody was selling a box set of these, and it was like volumes 5 through 19, with the exceptions of volumes 14 and 16. And so I found volumes 1 through 4 on like Books A Million or Barnes and Noble. I found them through there. And then I had the box set. The only volumes I cannot find are volumes 14 and 16. And so I had to go online and get the digital copies through Amazon. But man, I wish there was a full English box set. I think because of just the printing and COVID right now, they can't reprint them. So I hope that one day they do, because I really want to get the physical copies of 16 and 14 because they are really good. And there's a lot of things in them that I like. So eventually, hopefully that'll work out. But oh my gosh, you guys, the manga. Let's talk about the manga. We're 20 minutes into this. Let's talk about the manga. I have notes. I have multiple pages of notes. So of things that going through that I've read and noticed, and I want to talk with you guys about them and see what your thoughts are as well. The first thing is parts that were really left out. Nadia Wong. Let's talk about her, because she's probably the biggest aspect of the manga that I really regret could not be in the actual anime, because we get introduced to Shorter's sister Nadia very early on. And she, right up until episode 4, she's a big part she's a part of the anime. But then after episode 4, after Griffin dies, she kind of falls off and she's not really in the series anymore. And I kind of hate it because in the manga, she's in there quite a bit more. It's not made explicit at all in the anime. They only include one scene of it. But she's in a relationship with Charlie. Like Charlie the detective, her and him are in a relationship. And when I read the manga, it was so unexpected. I was like, oh, they're in a relationship. And it made the scene where she's talking to him in the restaurant and she's like, well, the cops aren't doing anything. And he's like, well, it's not a good situation for us either. So we're trying. And there's that tension in their conversation. You're like, oh, okay, well, she's just worried about her brother and he's kind of the only cop around. And so she's kind of lashing out at him and giving him her mindset. But in the manga, they have some pretty extensive conversations about it because they're in a relationship. And I really love it. Like Charlie is a genuinely nice guy to her. He really loves her. And eBay and Max are weirded out by it. They're like, oh, wait, you're in a relationship with Nadia? With Shorter's sister? Okay. It's just like when they find out, it's so funny. Max is like, huh? But what I love about Nadia's character is that she's actually a really relevant character interacting with Ash and as well as Blanca, because she's the one that ends up telling Blanca about where Ash and all them are hiding in the warehouse. Like she gives him information before Dragon Moon does, which I thought was really cool. He knows to contact her as his sister. But one of you mentioned in the chat earlier, Mariel, Gloria, you mentioned that. Probably my favorite thing is that she finds out, because the whole time with the anime, I was like, is she going to find out about Shorter's death? Because Ash doesn't really tell any of Sing's men about it. He tells Sing, well, Sing finds out from Eiji, and then Ash confirms it. But Lau and the others don't really end up finding out the full extent of Shorter's death. And so I was like, is Nadia ever going to find out, or is she just going to be in the dark the whole time? And she does. When they go to rescue Lau and the others from being held hostage, they have to cut through the restaurant, and Ash briefly meets with Nadia, and she's, asks about Shorter's death, and he tells her, he's like, I can't tell you right now, but, I just want you to know. And yeah, like you said, Mariel, Nadia believes in Ash completely because she knows how much Ash cared about Shorter and how much Shorter cared about Ash. Like they basically, loved each other and as like brothers. And she's like, it's okay. She's like, I just, I'm worried. And I didn't realize that Sing was their cousin. So in the manga, you find out that Sing and Lau are cousins to Shorter and Nadia, which helps to explain why Sing was like so like idolized Shorter, because that's his cousin, that's his family. And so that makes so much more sense. But yeah, but Ash basically gets to see Nadia one last time. And she's like, take care, be careful. And it's kind of like this very, very sweet, very foreboding and foreshadowing Ash's eventual death. But he's like, that's the last time he gets to see her. And it's like, it's just really sweet. And I loved her interaction in the manga. And I'm really sad that she's not in it more, because I really think, especially that scene where she finds out about Shorter's death, I feel like the anime needed that. Yes, like just he kissed her cheeks and it was like so sweet. And I feel like the anime we needed a little bit of levity, but I get that the anime tries to do the tension and keep the pace up. So I get it. It's one of those things where you get it. The anime is a different medium than the manga. The manga can afford to take time and expand on things. And the anime sets up from the very get-go this pacing of how fast-paced it is and how quickly things go. And so it makes sense. It makes sense that they don't include it, and I get it, and I understand. But at the same time, I'm like, this is why you need to read the manga, because it's just so good. So there's that. Nadia giving information. Another thing with there is that I didn't realize this either, but volume 6 of the manga, volume 6 talks about, volume 6 is Shorter's death. It's sad. It's just really sad all around. Volume 6 it's one of my favorite volumes, but it's so sad. But in the manga, the angel eyes moment, the moment where Shorter looks up and sees the bronze angel and kind of snaps out of banana fish for a second, that's not in the manga. He doesn't see the angel. He just kind of stops and he freezes and he has a moment of clarity. And that's when he tells Ash, I just kill me, I'm done. And then the episode goes on as it was. So I will give props to Mappa for including that scene, for including the angel, the bust of the angel. I give Mappa a lot of props because it was such a cool tie-in and a cool call out to Angel Eyes and the importance of that story. I was like, that's so neat. I'm like, awesome, cool. I'm glad that they included that because it was just, it was a nice thing to have on there. So yeah, there's that Angel Eyes moment. And I guess they just wanted to connect it to the story, which was neat. I'm all about it. Dragon Moon, when he frees Ash in episode 9 in the manga, and I don't think this is in the anime. I think this is a manga only thing. But Dragon Moon mentions that he thinks Arthur likes Ash. And I find that so weird. I don't know. I find that so bizarre. I was like, huh? Because Dragon Moon's like, well, I think Arthur likes you, Ash. And that's, one of the reasons why he's so antagonistic towards you is because he's trying to deal with those emotions. And I'm like, wait, what? Huh? No, what? So that part really threw me out. I was like, Arthur liking Ash? I'm like, oh, what? Because a lot of people had questioned why Arthur, we never really get full confirmation in the anime, I don't think, of why Arthur truly hates Ash. Like, we get that he hates him with all of his soul, and we get that he understands Ash's circumstances and that Ash is dealing with it despite everything, and he hates him for it. But we don't ever get like a full, he doesn't ever come out and say it, which I like it. I like the anime is ambiguous enough that it lets us, the audience, try to figure it out for ourselves. But someone on YouTube had a theory that Arthur, that maybe his sister or something was the one that dated Ash, and that she died, obviously, and so that he was mad at Ash for that. Someone theorized that could have been it, and I'm like, well, that would make a lot of sense. But the whole thing about Arthur liking Ash is so weird to me, like a twisted infatuation. That's very bizarre to me. I'm like, I just think Arthur hated Ash, and that was just, they each didn't like each other, and Ash cut off his fingers, so that's even more of a reason, because then Arthur can't hold a gun, he can't pull a trigger on a gun, he is only good in a knife fight. It kind of demoralized him, it hurt his pride. Like, I think there's all these other reasons of why Arthur didn't like Ash that I don't think it necessarily was that he was infatuated with him and dealing with that. So I don't know. I really like the sister theory with Arthur, that his sister was the one that was dating Ash and that she died when they were young. I totally like that theory, but I also like that Arthur's just, like Mariel says, just a petty asshole. And it's like, that's just how he is. And that's fine, because this show, I like that this show gives us antagonists that don't necessarily have to have a full reason for being as awful as they are. Fox is a case in point. Like, just, we'll get to him. Oh my gosh. We will get to him. Someone's made a panel by panel explanation from the manga. Yeah. And then the idea of Ash coming up from being a prostitute to being this gang leader, and Dino giving him more and more power. Dexter, that's a good point, that Arthur would not like that at all. I can totally get that. But yeah, Arthur liking him, I'm like, that's such a weird statement, Dragon Moon. Such a weird statement. Also in volume 6, this part freaked me out a lot, but in the manga, it was revealed that Golzin's original plan was that after Shorter died, he was going to give Banana Fish to Max and eBay and have them kill each other in front of Ash, which I think is disturbing. The moment I read that, I was like, are you kidding me? And then Golzin was going to, after Max and eBay killed each other in front of Ash, then he was going to give Eiji Banana Fish and have Eiji kill Ash. Or have Ash have to kill Eiji. That just blows my mind. That cruelty of Golzin, that he would make everyone around Ash kill each other before Ash died. I'm like, that, duh. I read that in volume 6 and was like, oh my gosh, because I don't think I could have handled it. If the anime and the manga decided to have Max and eBay go at each other, because eBay is so sweet and Max becomes like a father figure to Ash, that it's like, no. I honestly thought that Max was going to die in this. I really thought that Max was going to die in this show. Because he was such a positive parental figure to Ash. I'm like, this is Banana Fish. They're not going to let us keep that. They're going to get rid of Max. I just know it's coming. And I was so afraid that Max was going to die in this series. And especially when Fox had him at gunpoint, I'm like, oh, he's going to die, isn't he? And so I'm glad that he didn't. I'm glad that he got out. I was like, oh, Because I don't know, Max's story from going in episode 3 and 4 to wanting to die to Max living to the end and being like, I want to live for Jessica and for his son. Like, that was such a character arc for him that because of Ash, he realized he wanted to live. And it was like, I ended up liking Max's character so much that I'm happy that he made it out. Like, I'm glad that he survived. It just, yeah. And Mariel, he had so many death flags going into this. I'm like, it comes out that Griff and Max were the only survivors. In the manga, it's Vietnam. It's not Afghanistan. So because in the manga, it takes place in 1985. So they're leading up from Vietnam to the 80s. And so they obviously, with the time skip, they made it Afghanistan. But the idea is that Max and Griff were the only ones out of their troop that lived and didn't get affected, which surprises me, I guess, because Max was a journalist. He was able to get out. But that is kind of sad that everyone else in their troop were either affected by banana fish or didn't make it because of the war. Like, it's very sad to me. In episode 9 to episode 10 in the anime, I always wondered, because when we get to the episode about the Garden of Eden and Mannerheim is like, they have Shorter's brain. In the anime, it wasn't ever made explicit that they took the brain. And so in that moment, I was like, is Mannerheim lying to Ash and telling him that's Shorter's brain to just get under his skin? Or is that real? And in the manga, you find out that Alexis actually took Shorter's brain with him to Mannerheim. So that actually did happen in the manga, which makes me sick. I'm like, that's why Ash reacted so crazy to Abraham, because you see your best friend on a medical table and his head is split open and the brain's gone. Like, that's just disgusting. And so, yeah, that makes a lot of sense of why that happened and why he reacted the way he did, which obviously he would have reacted, obviously, to Shorter's death before then, but that just, ugh. And then there's another thing from that volume I noted, that Dragon Moon with Jutlung. He said that he told Ash he sedated the guards when he broke in. And then you come to find out that he killed the guards. He didn't sedate them. He murdered them. And Ash gets mad in the manga with that. He's like, you lied. You said you just sedated them, but you killed them. And because at that point in the manga, Ash is like, we don't kill. We just, take people out. And obviously that changes as the manga goes on and things get more dire. But he gets really mad at Jutlung for lying to him, which I thought was interesting. So, yeah, Patom JL saying the irony that although they changed the setting, circumstances were still the same. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. That was one of the questions from Patreon that was brought up, and we'll get into that too. But yeah, Shorter Wong deserved better. Shorter Wong deserved so much. It still makes me mad that Shorter died. I'm still just furious about it because he was my favorite character. Just the character design on Shorter, how his attitude, his friendship with Ash, his friendship with Eiji. Like he was going to sacrifice and put down his life for Eiji, and he ended up doing it. And I was just, when he had, Eiji was like, I'll kill you and then kill myself before I let Golzine touch you. I was like, hey, Shorter. And then that's why we can't have nice things. Banana Fish is like, oh no, you don't get how this show works. I'm like, okay, yeah. In the manga, they show the body of the guards, and yeah, Ash comments on it and is like, oh no, like you killed them. You said you were just going to sedate them. So that was a big thing. Love makes you feel some type of way. very much so, Divine. Charlie, we talk about Charlie in the manga, but Charlie has a lot more to do. And I totally get why Charlie is cut from the anime for the most part, because all of the things with Charlie are with the New York Police Department, and they're all just supplemental. They're all just added things. They're not necessary for the anime. The plot keeps going without them, but they are nice things to note in the background. But one thing I thought was really interesting was that Charlie and the NYPD are basically bought out by Golzine. There's a big point in the manga where it's made explicit. I think it's volume 7 and volume 8, where Charlie and the NYPD are bought out by Golzine, and they're charged with the task of looking for Ash, which I think is interesting because Charlie at this point is still dating Nadia, Shorter's sister. Shorter's died. He knows about that. He's obviously knows that Ash is involved in it, and he's been involved with Ash this entire time so far. So the fact that he has to work against Ash with the police department sets up a lot of conflict for Charlie's character. And it makes so much more sense why in episode 23, when Ash goes to visit Eiji in the hospital, why it's such a big deal that Charlie can't get to him. Because in the moment, the anime, I was like, I get that Charlie's working for the police department, but I'm like, why is it such a huge deal that he's, wouldn't he let Ash go because he knows Ash? But in reality, no, he's working with the police department and Golzine's hired him and they're wanting to take Ash in. So it makes sense. I'm going to look at the chat here right before going on. Dragon Moon is shorter, best character designs, Cater. I totally agree. Dragon Moon Jetlung is the most fashionable person in Banana Fish, bar none. Except Ash in the manga is pretty fashionable too, I will admit. He can rock a turtleneck, let me tell you. And then, Eiji's accent in the manga, they really make it apparent. In the anime, I think because everyone's speaking Japanese, it's not as noticeable. But in the manga, they really bring up the point that Eiji is talking in English to Ash, and it's not the best English, because Ash even notes, he's like, your accent sounded funny and all this, and he's like, but it was endearing. And so I like that in the manga it's made a little bit more explicit that Eiji there's a communication barrier slightly there, which makes their relationship all the more endearing. It's like, investigating that Ash was still alive. It's and more Chinese spoken in the manga than the anime, which is interesting too, because they kind of almost do subtitles for all that too, Bishi. That's a good point to bring up. There's a huge subplot in the manga in episode 11. In episode 11, when Ash goes to get the condo with Max, and they pretend to be father and son to the woman that's at the real estate that's giving them the condo. That is a whole subplot in the manga. It takes up like half of volume 7 or volume 8. It takes up like half the volume, where Ash poses as this boy named Chris, and his dad is Mr. Winston. Max poses as Mr. Winston, and they pose as these aristocrats in New York, like these fancy to-do people. And it's a good example in the manga of classism, because in the manga, the PD are out looking for Ash, and they see Ash with like the sweater tied and like the nice cardigan and the nice clothes out in Central Park. And they stop him and they confront him. And they're like, you kind of match the description of the guy we're looking for. And then Max walks up and he's like, oh, hey, son. He's like, you ready to go get lunch? And Ash is like, yeah, Dad, I sure am. And they go to get lunch together. And that's the scene we see in the anime, where we see Max and Ash eating lunch together. And they talk about the condo and him stealing money out of Golzine's account. But the moment that they walk away, the police are like, oh, don't you think that's the punk we're looking for? And they're like, no. They're like, he looks like a well-to-do man with his son, and they look wealthy, and it couldn't possibly be him. And when I read that, I was like, oh, that's such a great commentary about the police completely overlooking someone just based on profiling, just based on the fact that Ash and Max looked like wealthy people, like just wealthy white people going off to lunch. There's no way they could be thugs. There's no way they could be an ex-reporter that had just been in jail 5 episodes ago. There's no way. And it was such a good commentary, like, I see exactly like how this is all playing up in that world. And it was, the police being completely incompetent in that moment and just turning a blind eye intentionally. And that was him. And then it cuts straight to that moment in the anime that we get. So I'm really sad that we didn't get more of that in the anime. Again, it completely derails the plot for a second and it goes kind of off course, but it's so relevant and it's such a great addition that I wish that it had been included in the anime. I feel like all the stuff left out of the manga is all relevant and it's all really fascinating and it enriches the story so, so much. But again, if you've got to do an anime in 23 episodes, as far as an anime goes, and as far as them adapting it for that specific amount of content they had to fill, I think the anime is perfect. I think it perfectly, pacing-wise, does everything it needs to. But man, I wish it had been like a 30-episode series. I think if it had been like 30 episodes, they could have filled in or at least 26 episodes, they could have filled in all the extra plot. But, He could have dyed his hair, although his hair is so blonde. Claire, you note that I had a friend that for a play, his hair was like bleach blonde, and he dyed it black, and it didn't turn black; it turned like a weird brown color, and it looks so weird. I guess he could have done that, but I don't know. This took place during the 80s, so I don't know if in the manga hair color was so easily accessible and good as it is now. I don't know. But okay, that was volume 7. If you guys want to know, the Chris and Winston subplot is all volume 7. It's like I think it's like half the volume. So if you get a chance to get volume 7, check it out, because that Winston Chris subplot is just so good. You guys have noted in the episode, I think it was episode 12, but Eiji saying that he'd stay with Ash forever. The forever isn't in the actual anime, but it's in the manga. It's such a tiny moment, but it's so good. And it's just like cements how Eiji feels about Ash. And it's like, some of you noted that, Dexter, you're noting that Shorter has his mohawk for part of the anime, for part of the manga, but then he doesn't. So it's kind of weird. But yeah, I'm glad they let him keep it. There's a lot of exposition on eBay Max and Ash getting info on Banana Fish. Pretty much everything that is led up to episode 18, like them gathering up all the information on Banana Fish, getting all the leads, setting up everything to blackmail Golzine. All of that is explained in much more detail in the manga, which is fine. The scene in episode 19 where Ash debriefs the government on how to use Banana Fish, that thing was like 20 pages in the manga. It's so long. And I was like, oh, I'm glad we kind of condensed this a little bit in the anime, because it was a little arduous to read all these theorizing and planning and political like plots that Ash is doing. I mean, it was cool, but I was like, I'm glad they kind of simplified it for the anime. That was a good idea on the anime's part. Before Ash fights Arthur in episode 13, he meets up with Kane, and they kind of have like a back and forth talking about what they're going to do as far as setting up the fight with Arthur. And Ash stole Golzine's car, right? The car that Golzine gave him for his 16th birthday. Ash stole it. And so you only see it when he drives back at the end of episode 10. But apparently, in episode 12, if it would have been in the anime, Max gives Kane a ride in Golzine's car. I needed that in the anime. I needed Kane and Ash driving around in Golzine's car and just having a good time, like Ferris Bueller style, just driving around the city. I needed that levity, because I would have paid money for Mappa to animate that. Like Kane just like with his arm leaning out the window, them driving through New York City at night. Like that would have been amazing. Why didn't we include that? But again, it would have cut the pacing of the episode leading up to the fight. So I get it, but that was a good scene too. And also in that same part of the manga, Ash meets with Max before fighting Arthur as well. And there's a line that Max says that I absolutely love. And it is, the innocent can be more dangerous than any weapon. And that's what he tells Ash before he goes to fight Kane. And that line is there's such foreshadowing in that line, because we've built up this entire series talking about how Eiji is both Ash's anchor and also his weakness. And the idea that the innocent can be more dangerous than any weapon. It's so true. And Jutlung exploits that. And throughout the second half of the anime, it makes a lot of sense that Max says that right before episode 13 happens in the anime, because in the manga, from the manga's perspective, Max telling Ash that line is like the cutoff point of the story. Like the story has been leading up this certain way till now. And then Max says that line, and then there's the fight with Arthur. And from then on, it's all a matter of, okay, now we're going to really see that line come into play, because Eiji's our innocent and he is going to be exploited as Ash's weakness. And it's like, yeah, so much foreshadowing in this anime and manga that when you go back and reread it, you're like, okay, cool. Charlie was working with Ash, with Arthur. So another thing is that Charlie was actually working with Arthur, which makes sense because the Golzine sold out the police. So the idea that Charlie was working with Arthur to try to figure out everything about the fight. And it makes sense later why they don't give Ash's location away, because they're still wary of Charlie's association with Golzine. So that made up a lot of sense. Volume 8, for the record, is where I've got a note here. Volume 8 is where Kane gets the ride from in the car with Ash. So if you want to go check that out in volume 8. Volume 9, Charles and Max, there's a lot of exposition. My favorite part of volume 9, though, is that in the anime, Eiji stuck, it's episode 14, Eiji stuck in the mansion with Jut Lung. And at the end of the episode, 14 going into episode 15, Eiji escapes, right? So Eiji uses the glass to put Jut Lung at knife point, and he gets out. In the manga, Eiji tries to escape a lot. Like, Eiji tries multiple times to escape Jut Lung in the mansion, and he just can't do it. Bless his heart, Eiji just can't get out. And it's not played for comedy, but it's really sad because Eiji has been consistently trying to escape to go find Ash, and he just can't do it. And so finally he gets desperate and he breaks the window and takes the glass to put up to Jut Lung's throat. And that's how he gets out. But there's this really kind of creepy scene where right before that happens, right before the scene where Eiji breaks the window to escape, there's a scene where Eiji is like, they have to sedate him to keep him there, and he's knocked out, and Dragon Moon just sits in front of him and just watches him sleep. And it's kind of creepy, but it's kind of like Jut Lung is contemplating like Eiji and his role and how he relates to Ash and everything. And you can just tell in that one panel that Dragon Moon is contemplating all of the different things that Eiji can do and has in relation to Ash. And it's very, very interesting. But it kind of had a Twilight feel to it. I was like, ooh, how long do you watch me sleep? For a while. Like, just one of those things. It's very interesting. I skipped down here to volume 13. Ash and eBay have this extended conversation before episode 18, when Ash leaves to go back to Golzine. He has a little extended conversation with eBay about wanting to go to Japan and see Japan whenever he gets out, which is all the sadder, you know, because I think that's honestly one of the last conversations that he has with eBay. It may be the last conversation he has with eBay. Oh my God. Volume 13, like 6 volumes prior to the end of the manga. I think Ash's last conversation with eBay is that, oh, I want to go see the land where Eiji grew up, Japan. Well, that just made me sad. That's awful. Yeah, that might be it. Huh. Okay. That's it. That's the last conversation he had with eBay. I've got to process that for a minute. Huh. Oh, Carvel, thank you for joining. Yeah, this video is going to be posted later. I'm going to edit it to get the thumbnail and stuff. We started the stream and then it crashed and now we're back again. So thanks for joining. We've just been reviewing the manga. You've not missed the reactions or anything yet. But yeah, the whole thing will be posted later. But yeah, holy crap. eBay's last conversation with Ash was just about Ash wanting to see Japan. I'm starting to feel sad, guys. This is not good. We haven't even read any of the manga yet, and I'm starting to feel sad. But yeah, and then when he leaves to go with Golzine, Max and eBay reunite, and they have a lot more exposition leading up to what's been going on and trying to figure out, like, why did Ash go? Why did he go back to Golzine? What's going on? Like, the manga lets them try to sort things out, like, behind the scenes. Another thing in volume 13, which is probably my favorite thing, because this whole time Ash has been going with Golzine and it's really sad, but Eiji confronts Dragon Moon, and in the manga, Eiji is a lot sassier. Eiji's got some sass in the manga. And when he confronts Dragon Moon about Ash being gone and trying to figure stuff out, Eiji explicitly tells Jut Lung, he's like, I don't like you. I'm like, it's like, yes, because the whole time in the anime, I'm like, Eiji, you're causing all this conflict. Don't you know that Dragon Moon hates you? Why would you go back to him? And Eiji's like, I'm just trying to figure out where Ash is. I know you probably know. I don't like you. Like, just help me out here. And I'm like, oh, Eiji getting a spine. And yeah, Dexter, Eiji does swear a lot in the manga. He is a lot more crass. It's like, oh. And then he's sassy to him. And oh gosh, my mind is going blank. I should have wrote it down. He basically, he doesn't call him a bully in the manga. He's just like, you bastard. And it's like, oh, Eiji. So sassy, so fun. I love it. But yeah, and of course, Dragon Moon is just me. I do love that when Sing's like, oh, it looks like he won. He's like, shut up. Dragonmoon throws the teacup. That's exactly the same in the manga. It's wonderful. I love it. I love it. He calls him an asshole. Yes. Yeah. He's like, you asshole. And it's like, Eiji, good. I've been waiting all manga for you to say that to him. And he does. It's wonderful. Okay. So volume 14 is where Blanca comes in. And a lot of you have commented in the anime about Blanca. And I'm not going to talk about Dragonmoon until after Garden of Light is over, because I have a feeling, I hope that we see him at least one more time, because he's still alive by the end of the series. So I'm going to leave Dragonmoon for a little bit later. But Blanca, and we'll have private opinion to talk about Blanca too, but Blanca's so complicated. And I feel better having read the manga because Blanca is explained more in the manga, a lot more. And to be honest, at the very beginning of volume 14, Blanca, he seems pretty antagonistic towards Eiji. There's a picture of Eiji on the wall. The picture that in the anime shows of Ash and Eiji together, Blanca gets that and he hangs it up on the wall and he throws a knife at it and the knife lands in the middle of Eiji's face. And when that happened in the manga, I was like, oh, Blanca really doesn't like him. And so there's a lot more explanation of Blanca's character, and Blanca's slow transition into Ash's point of view and to helping Ash is a lot better explained in the manga. It's not something that just happens. I feel like in the anime, I got really frustrated in episode 22 because in episode 22, I hadn't got to that point in the manga yet, but in episode 22, Blanca was suddenly like, oh yeah, maybe we shouldn't kill Eiji. Maybe that was a bad decision. I've been thinking maybe we should just help Ash. And I'm like, you couldn't have figured this out 2 episodes ago? And in the manga, his transition to helping Ash is a lot more fleshed out. And it shows that he slowly comes around to realizing the situation that Ash is in through over time. Because, in episode 18, he's like, oh, we'll just go back to Golzine and everything will be fine. And I'm like, do you not see what Golzine's doing to Ash? No. And so it's a lot better explained in the manga with Blanca's character. I still get frustrated with Blanca a lot because I'm like, oh, you're kind of a hypocrite. Because you're like, oh, I'm neutral, everything's fine. And then you end up helping Ash because you care about him. But I'm like, you couldn't have cared about him 3 episodes prior. It's so frustrating. It's one of those, it's very Shakespearean, right? It's a very Shakespearean move where Blanca, Shakespeare did this a lot in his work, where he'd be like, a character would realize the errors of their ways, or they would realize the true feelings they had about a situation one step too late. And I feel like with Blanca, that's exactly what happened. He realized that Eiji was like Ash's Natasha, that he was important to him. It was important that they didn't kill Eiji, and he realized it just a bit too late because Dragonmoon had already put the plan in motion to have him shot. So I'm like, Malik there. Blanca is so complex and nuanced, a tragic, capable character. Daddy Blanca, indeed, especially episode 24. Very much. I didn't realize that I needed the Sing Blanca dynamic until episode 24 happened. And I was like, where's this been all this time? I love Sing. And the fact that he gets to have such a great dynamic with both Blanca and Jetlung, 2 of the most complicated characters in this show, is so wonderful to me. But it's so frustrating. Yes. And that was another thing too, Mariel. There is a scene where it's after the shoulder scene, but I think it's after the shoulder scene, or it might be before it. But Ash and Eiji are walking along the streets of New York in broad daylight, and Blanca turns a corner in his car and fires at them. And tries to shoot Eiji, and Ash and them duck into a building to escape. And I was like, Blanca, what are you doing? So it's crazy. Blanca is so much more fleshed out, and there's more. He has more to do in the manga, which I appreciate a lot. Another thing in volume 14 is volume 14 sets up the rescue of Ash before the hotel party with Golzine. And so one thing that Eiji asks Alex to do, Alex, one of the gang members, is Eiji asks Alex, he's like, in the anime it says, Alex, can you give me a gun? And you're like, okay, Eiji's getting a gun because he's going to try to go rescue Ash. In the manga, Eiji has Alex help him with target practice. Like they have target practice and Eiji like practices shooting leading up to the rescue and everything. He's still an awful shot. He's got like stormtrooper aim. Eiji is like the worst shot in the entire series. And it's funny because the other characters comment on it. Like Kong and Bones are like, you're a really bad shot. And they're like, maybe having a gun is not for you. And it's like, oh, Eiji's trying. But yeah, I did appreciate that Alex at least tried to help him in that moment. Alex did need more screen time. His character design is so different in the manga, though. He looks very 80s. He has like the big pants and like his hair's like a mullet. It's great. And he wears his jacket in episode 22. Let me see, somebody else, Ashley Links commenting, Ash does look a lot like Natasha. And in the episode, I wondered if that was one of the reasons that Blanca's kind of drawn to Ash, just subconsciously, because he looks like Natasha just a little bit. I don't know. Volume 16. Okay, here's the thing, guys. Up until volume 14, there's a lot of added things that are just, they're not necessarily needed for the anime. They're just like little plot elements that are better explained. Like there's more exposition with eBay and Max. There's more with Charlie. I do wish Nadia was included in the manga more, in the anime more, because she has a big presence in the manga. But aside from Nadia and like the plot elements with the characters we have, I felt like the anime was doing fine leaving those bits out. Like I wish Nadia had been in the anime more, but I feel I understood why it was left out. From volume 16, 17, and 18, there's quite a bit left out of the anime. Quite a bit. There is a lot left out with Blanca and Fox. There is a lot left out, especially Fox's character. Like Fox just comes in episode 21 with 3 episodes left. I'm like, why are we getting introduced to this guy in the final hour of this show? Why? And I know I did like the GTA reference and stuff in the reaction, but I was like, oh my gosh. But in the manga, Fox has a lot of exposition. Like there's 3 whole volumes that kind of explain Fox's whole purpose and his act and his wanting to take control from Golzine, like to gain power, and using Ash and his weird infatuation with Ash. Like it's just fully explained in so much more detail. And I'm like, oh, okay. So in volume 16, Blanca learns about Fox and the militia, and that's when he really starts getting worried for Ash. Like Blanca in volume 16 is like, I've been kind of coming over to your side, and he's like, you're in trouble because I am a former military man myself, you know, working for the Russian government. He's like, I totally understand what's going to happen now. You're in trouble. And so I liked that Blanca understands immediately the direness of the situation. And so there's a huge section in volume 16 where Fox debriefs. Fox has a lot more troops in the manga than the anime. He has like squadrons of troops, which makes the stakes so much higher against our ragtag group of gang members and Kane and Singh's gang against Fox's troops. There's a whole segment dedicated to volume 16 where Ash and his crew plot to take out a big chunk of Fox's men, and it works. They like plan this whole thing out, and there's this big explosion. They trap a bunch of Fox's men and they blow up like a building, and it kills a bunch of Fox's militia. And it's a big setup and a big deal. And it helps explain why Fox gets so pissed at Ash, because he's like, Golzine warns him. He's like, don't underestimate Ash. And Fox is like, it's fine. He's just a thug. And then Ash gets all the gangs together and they take out a big chunk of Golzine's men. And then Fox realizes, oh, I maybe should have listened to you a little bit. And it's like, yeah, you should have. And so Fox is so much more ruthless in the manga, and his frustration and anger with Ash and like his weird attraction to Ash is so much more detailed in the manga. I've got a note here about Frog. Frog is the guy that in the midst of all this, Fox is the man that kills Frog because he gave Ash the photos from the nightclub, from Golzine, from the Carp Club. Yeah. Well, wait. Nazaria, I just looked at the chat. Oh, Fish episode 10. Oh, Nazaria, you might want to come back to this chat. We're doing major spoilers. Oh, buddy. For the record, spoilers, so many spoilers at this point. So if you want to be spoiled, cool. But if not, you might save this stream and come back to it. I don't want to spoil you. Okay. Yes. Dexter, right before I get back to this, you're saying Fox's treatment of Ash was a big show of power over Golzine. Yeah, Fox just trying to gain everything he can. He's such the Shakespearean villain coming in the 11th hour and trying to take the power. It's like, But side note, Frog, the character that had taken the photos of Ash and that Max and them took the photos from, I think it's episode 21. Yes, the scene with Ash and Frog is chilling. And there's a little bit of extra in the manga that after Fox kills him, Charlie and them are doing the autopsy of Frog. And it's mentioned that Frog's remains are sent to his spouse in California, and his spouse is a man. So there's a little tiny scene where Frog's husband comes and gets his remains, which I thought was really interesting that the manga included that, because again, this was 1985 when this was published. So I was like, oh, okay, well, we're going to talk about this. And because usually, I mean, it's the 1980s, so gay marriage at the time is still something that's not, I mean, it was from, they had to say California because it was legal there at the time, or having a partnership. So I thought that was interesting. Just as a side note, they included that extra information there. But yeah, Frog, the clicking of the camera, that part was so disturbing in the anime and just as disturbing in the manga. One other thing from volume 16 and 17, there's so much happening in it. I would recommend going and reading volume 16 just because of all the extra material that's in the manga at this point. But there's one scene, if I had a scene that I could pick from the anime, from the manga that I wished was in the anime, if it wasn't Nadia and Ash's interaction, that would be my first choice, would be Nadia and Ash's interaction. My second choice would be that in volume 16, to prepare to deal with Fox's men, Ash does a training scene of hand-to-hand combat with Kane and his group. And it's so good. It's him training them in martial arts and hand-to-hand combat. And he basically like shows them moves that he learned from Blanca to take people out without, using a gun. And he's like, if you guys are going to fight these militiamen, you've got to know how to handle them hand to hand, up close, if you don't have a weapon. And it's so good. It's like he just comes out of nowhere and like gets one of them down. And everybody's like, Ash can do this. And it's like, yes, Ash can do this. And he's like, well, I've learned this from Blanca. And it's such a great combination of everything, because it wouldn't have made sense for him to show these guys these training moves before we knew Blanca's character. It wouldn't have made sense because we needed to be introduced to Blanca to know that he trained Ash. And then when Ash trains Kane and singing them, it makes all the more sense. So I'm like, I wish that could have been the anime. I wish it could have been that. When I read that in the manga, I was like, oh my gosh, that would have been such a cool scene to do. But what can we do? Okay. So, and then, yeah, I just read volume 18 this week, and I've been putting up my manga reactions on Twitter. So if you go to my Twitter page, just search for Banana Fish or search my thing. And there's a whole bunch of things that I've been putting on the manga, like panels that have been added, my favorite panels from the volumes, extra things that I noticed. I've been setting them all up there. I just finished volume 18. It hurts. It still hurts. Oh gosh, you guys. This part from episode 23 where him and Eiji almost hold hands, where they reach out to each other and they don't touch. That scene in the manga, it's showing Ash and Eiji both crying. And it's like a double spread. Oh God, it's so sad. And I was like, And then in volume 18, right before this one starts, the scene where Ash is holding Sing by the arm over the building, where he's holding Sing by the arm and Sing has the briefcase. Ash's arm is bleeding and he's holding him by the arm that's bleeding, and there's blood dripping on Sing's face from Ash's arm. Oh my gosh, it's like the symbolism, and it's such a powerful scene. And Sing's like, Ash, and Ash is like, just drop it. Just drop the briefcase. And it's so, oh my gosh, it's so good. It's so good. One thing too, and before we end our discussion about the manga for now, I've got questions I want to answer from Patreon, so I want to get to those. But In volume 17 and 18, Blanca knows that Ash took Golzine's money. And that's why in the anime, he's like, oh, I'll let you hire me for like 60 million or 50 million or $500, you know, whatever. He knows that Ash took all of Golzine's money. And so the joke is kind of like, he's like, I know you can afford me to hire me out as a hitman, even though I'm obviously not going to charge you. There's really, really good connections with that. Fox's death is a little bit different in the manga. There's no drill. That drill was terrifying in the anime. Terrifying. And the fact that it's not even in the manga, that it was just Mappa. It was just Mappa giving us more gore. Because in the manga, Ash takes the pipe and he pushes Fox up against the wall and he stabs Fox with the pipe while they're standing up. And Fox stabs him in the shoulder with the knife. And it's on the opposite end. It's on the opposite side in the manga than it is the anime. But he stabs him with the knife and Ash like basically takes a javelin with the pipe and gets him. And in the anime, they're like, that pipe is not good enough. And like Claire says, Fox deserved worse. And so that's why Mappa was like, just have a drill. Mappa's just like, their animators are like, what can we add that won't change the story, but will make it more gruesome? Let's do a drill. It's like, oh God, Pedom, freaked out. That drill scene, and then it kept going. Like it wasn't just the drill. It wasn't just the drill impacting the body. Like it went on for like 20 seconds. I was like, Mappa has just been like popping off these last few years with their animation. I'm just like, holy crap, power tools indeed. Yeah. Fox wanted to use Ash as a power tool against Golzine, and it backfired on him. It's just, what can we do? That's a lot of damage. Oh no. Nazaria, I'm glad that you are here because you gave me a lot of questions, as well as Ray Hasake from Patreon. So, yep. All right. So, yeah, let's talk about some of those questions before we do private opinion. These questions, some were from Nazaria and some were from Ray Hasake from Patreon. One question by Ray was changing the time period a good decision or not? So the manga actually starts on March 6th of 1985. And they update it in 2018 to be modern. And to be honest, I think it's fine. The only thing that really changes is the technology, that people have phones and laptops, which in the manga, Ash does have a laptop. It's a very ancient Mac 1980s laptop, but the technology is really the only major change that I did notice. And I was going to talk about this in the manga, the scene where Blanca is trying to find out where Ash and all of them are in episode 22. And Ash is reading a newspaper. Newspapers, what are those? Yeah, in the scene in episode 22 where Blanca is trying to figure out where they are, in the anime, it just shows him standing there, and Dragon Moon like walks up behind him and he's like, oh, you didn't react. And Blanca's like, oh, there was nothing I needed to. And I thought it was a cool line, but in the moment in the anime, I'm like, that's weird. Like, how did Dragon Moon just sneak up on him? In the manga, during that scene, Blanca's on the phone with Nadia, and Nadia's giving him information about their whereabouts. So it made so much more sense that he was on a corded phone, like a landline, talking to Nadia, and then Dragon Moon sneaks up and he drops the phone. And he's like, oh, no, drop it. So that part, I was like, oh, okay, well, they cut it because who has a landline in 2018, right? But the technology is really the only thing that was too lost. It still had an 80s, like basic otaku. Yeah, it still had an 80s feel, which I feel like 2018, the time it came out, Stranger Things was really big. And I feel like that was the start of like an 80s resurgence in a lot of pop culture. Like we had a lot of 80s style shows come back. And so it feels appropriate and that nobody would really take notice of it. But I kind of wish they just kept it in the 80s. I kind of wish they'd just done that, because you, like Keith says, phones have GPS. So it kind of doesn't make sense that they can't find them or they can't trace them. Like, you think that Eiji would have Snapchat or something and they could just use that. And it also kind of makes it makes some of the scenes a little bit weirder. Like when Eiji gets shot and they're like, oh, go call an ambulance. It would make sense in the manga that would be a dire situation, because you're in a warehouse. Where's a phone? Where's a landline? How are you going to call 911 when there's not a phone around, because people don't have cell phones? But in the anime, you're like, oh, well, they can just call an ambulance. Everybody's got a phone. So I can totally see why it would have made more sense to just keep it in the 80s, keep it Vietnam, keep it the same time frame, and then you wouldn't have those kind of plot hole-ish. I never questioned it watching the anime the first time around, because it was all fresh and in the moment. But when you do go back and rewatch, you can see like, oh, well, if this was really 2018, you could have done this or that, versus the 1980s when technology wasn't quite as developed as it was. So that's a really good question, Ray. I think they just wanted to, I think it was a good cop out, because that way they could update the cars and the technology, and they wouldn't have to totally remain faithful to the 80s. Because if you think about it, the cars and stuff, they would have had to do their research and make sure everything was appropriate to the 80s only. Like the technology would have to be appropriate. The cars would have had to be appropriate. I mean, the clothing pretty much doesn't change from the anime to the manga. But I really think Keith says Ash knows the city like the back of his hand. So do I with my trusty smartphone, right? I think that it would have been cooler if they kept it with the 80s, because it would have felt more authentic in the environment. And it would have, the show itself is pretty timeless. Like, I think that the technology isn't such an issue, that the show feels timeless in a sense. So whatever time it was in, it wouldn't have mattered. But I wish they would have just kept it with the manga. And that would have, any plot holes that, because I'm not going to be that troll that's like, well, actually in 2018, they could have just used GPS. I'm not going to be that person watching it, but they could have avoided all that if they just kept it with the 80s and not had to worry about it. Okay. So then another question that's asked is, do you like manga Ash more or anime Ash more? I don't know, Ray, if I have a preference. They're both pretty. Manga Ash is much more developed, obviously, because we spend more time with him. I feel like the Ash in the anime is constantly in a zone, in a zone because of the pacing. Like, he has to constantly be in this attitude that matches the pacing of the anime. So we don't get time to really decompress with him like we do in the manga. And for volumes 1 through 3, Ash looks a lot different. So if you read the manga for the first time and you open up volume 1 and you go, why do these characters look the way that they do? It's because the author, the mangaka, was really, Yoshida was really getting into how they were drawing the characters. So Ash in volumes 1 through 3 is based off of River Phoenix, the actor. And so Ash looks a bit more like River Phoenix. You can tell that he's modeled more after that actor. You can definitely see that. And then around volume 4 and 5, he starts to look more like we see him in the anime. And then by the end of the manga, he looks very similar to the anime. So it wasn't a big deal to me, but it is noticeable. But manga Ash obviously has more fleshing out, and the moments with him are much more detailed. There's more conversations that he has with like Kane and Sing and Eiji and Max that lend more to his character and make his decisions and his actions seem more understandable and valid. So I would say manga Ash, but I'm kind of that way with any manga versus anime. I usually will always pick the manga because you get more time to flesh things out and have more time with those characters. Obviously, with some shows that are not based on a manga, that are based maybe on a light novel, that's a little bit different. But yeah, that's a really good question. We're going to save some of these towards the end because they're Nozaria, I want to ask one of your questions, and then we'll move to private opinion. The question, the book titles for reference, was this a good choice or bad choice with the anime? I loved it. I loved the book titles being the title cards for each episode. That was amazing. I thought that was such a cool idea, especially from episode 1 when we learned about Salinger and banana fish being related to that book, to being a literary trope, a literary not idea. I was like, oh, that everything connects so well. And I'm an English major. I'm an English and communications major. So as soon as y'all told me that the book titles were going to be based off of actual books, I was like, oh, this is going to be so much fun. And it really was. Like, researching everything was so, so good. I had so much fun looking back at those. I was like, oh, awesome. And I want to do at the end of the stream Catcher in the Rye. We'll tie back to that. I made a note to tie back to Catcher in the Rye at the end of the stream because we didn't get a chance to talk about it in the episode, but I'll save that for the very end. But yeah, there are a lot of things that each book title not only pieced together for that episode, but connected to the next episode as well. So like, for example, As I Lay Dying with episode 22, it connected to Eiji's moment at the end of the episode, but then it also connected to episode 23 and how those events and plot points kind of panned out. Claire, cool, another English creative writing communications major. Yay! We're doing it for the money, right? No, I'm joking. But yeah, so those questions, I'm going to mark them off. They're awesome. Thank you, Ray and Azaria. There's more questions, but I've got them spaced out where when we get done with Private Opinion and Garden of Light, I'm going to space them out a little bit because some of these questions I feel like we don't need to answer until I read those. So there's that. But yeah, so Private Opinion, guys. God, I'm an hour and 15 minutes in this chat. Private Opinion. Let's talk about that. I'm going to send you guys a link in the chat. When I save this, stream, I'm going to go back and edit and add the link in the description. So any links that I have put in here, I'm going to have a link to Private Opinion, not Private Option, and a link to Garden of Light, even though I'm going to be reading Garden of Light out of this. And then there we go. And so let's see if I can, it'll let me pin it. Yay, we'll pin that one for now. That way you guys can follow along with me as I'm reading this. I don't know if you guys watch Semblance of Sanity or those reactors. They react to One Piece, the manga, and they do voices and all this fun stuff. And I wish I could. I feel like as a woman, it's a little bit harder to do all the guy voices because it would just basically be me in a false, deep voice for the entire time. And that would just be strange. So I am going to read this along with y'all. Private Opinion, the only thing I know about it is that it is dealing with Blanca and Ash's past. So yeah, let me see here. All right, Private Opinion. I'm pulling this up on the screen, so I'm not sure. Yeah, Private Opinion. Okay. All right, guys, this is part 2 of the chat, Private Opinion. Let's do this. Oh gosh. Let's do this. Okay. Oh my gosh. I'm scrolling down here. Look at Ash. Little baby Ash. Baby Ash with his short hair looking fierce. I'll be honest. Angel Eyes was hard to read the first time because of seeing how sad Ash was and how angry Ash was at the world. Like, that was really hard to read. And Shorter's always been the same character. So it's like, Shorter's always been the same with everything. So it was hard to see Ash being so cruel and just like the light drained out of his eyes. And then Shorter brought that back for him. So I really loved Angel Eyes for doing that. But look at this. Look at Blanca in the shadows there with the shades and his hair down. Okay. Private Opinion. I've got the chat pulled up beside me. Bridget, we are going to read Garden of Light towards the end of this chat. Yes, my mug is huge. Towards the end of the chat. So, okay, Private Opinion. Let's do this. All right. Page 2 here. The Flying Zebra. I love all the graffiti in the manga. The graffiti's so good because it's like, it's just very grungy. All right. At first, I didn't realize that it was him. Oh, so we're going back to when he noticed Blanca was following them. Oh no, that's not right. The right way to put it. for I did realize quickly that it was him. He had grown up and gotten, oh, this is from Blanca's perspective. Ooh! He had grown up and gotten a stronger build, but the unmatched beauty and those green eyes of his that never ceased to cast a spell upon people were the same as back then. Ooh, okay. And yet, I couldn't get rid of the feeling that it might as well have been someone who just happened to look similar to him. Why? Because the him I was familiar with had never been a boy of such rich facial expressions. Oh, guys. Oh, no. And it's because of Eiji. Oh, okay. Hardly ever smiling, and while indeed beautiful, being covered in an armor of stern inexpressiveness, the him who'd been like a child of the lion. I had a hard time acknowledging that the young American in front of my eyes, unarmed and laughing merrily and unconcerned, was him. Until in the blink of an eye, he took notice of me being there. And all of a sudden, the expression changed. Oh, man. Okay, can you guys... Oh, so see a screen? I don't. I'm so sorry. I don't, Patam, have a portable screen mirror. I'm so novice at chatting. I'm so sorry. Apologies. But when I do the animatic, I'll definitely go back and have that side by side on here. So, okay, the scene of Ash looking and seeing Blanca watching them, that's such a parallel to eBay, when eBay was talking to Max about seeing when Ash and AJ were doing the target practice back there at Cape Cod, when they were doing that. And then eBay says that they were having fun and laughing, and Ash was really like just being able to open up with AJ. And then the moment he saw eBay there, like his expression instantly closed up and changed. Like that's such a parallel. Yeah, if you all need to get me set up with OBS. Yeah, if you all can send me later, or send me, if any of you are friends with me on Patreon or in the Discord, send me whatever OBS is or help me with that. I'm such a novice when it comes to all this. I really am. Like I'm not saying I'm not tech savvy. I can figure stuff out, but I just don't know the basics. So if any of you are friends with me on Patreon or Discord, send me stuff on whatever OBS is or helping me set up. So if I do future streams, we can do that too. That would be awesome. Okay, so going back, yeah, he had to switch his expression. The green pupils flared up, and he devoted his full attention to my presence. I became aware of his aura beginning to light up like a fire. And then he took a stance as though to protect the Asian boy who seemed to be his friend. Oh, come on. Oh, no. That was him, without any doubt. Oh, buddy. Oh, buddy. The grown-up shape of that lion child. And then we're going to flash back. Oh, and Golzine's there. Hello. At first, it was my intention to decline. Very much like Blanca declined when he came back in the anime. Long time no see. 1 year ago, isn't it? Yes. Thank you for your help back then. It was my pleasure. I assume that you came here to refuse my offer. I'm afraid you asked too much of me. Even more so considering that he's just 14 years old. Oh my gosh. So this is like three to 4 years in the past. Oh, but I'm not right when I say that you started your training from an earlier age on, Blanca. That is. In any case, let me introduce you to him in person. Afterwards, we can talk. Oh, so is this Abraham at the bottom here? Page 165. Yes, you're no doubt. Oh, no, you. Yes, no doubt. You're the math teacher taken into employment last week. Okay, so it's not Abraham. It wasn't me. It was him who invited me over. You have to believe me. I certainly didn't. How could it come to this? What are you talking about? Okay, 167. Golzine and Blanca's expressions. Ash, are you there? Oh. Did he make the teacher Hey, are you all right? Don't touch me. Oof. Oof. Okay. Is it so bad that you got violated by him? Oh. Oh my gosh, Golzine. Oh. The bottom of page 170, y'all. Why did you slap him? Make your clothes look presentable again. What a pathetic sight. My apologies. And you, fire that guy. Yes. Now go take a shower and change your clothes. Get ready in 10 minutes and come to the garden house, understood? Oh my gosh. Wasting no time. Oh my gosh. That was a first meeting impressive beyond words. What a pity that I let you catch a glimpse of him in such an indecent moment. And while indecent, I have to admit, it's not the first time that such thing has occurred. Are you telling me that although that makes 5 cases now where we've had to fire a teacher, oh my gosh, 4 men and 1 woman of various ages, from a 25-year-old fellow to a 42-year-old female teacher. And what they have in common is that every single one of them said, he asked me for it. Oh my God. And that just is like so much relating back to the coach that Jim was telling them about in episode 7 or in episode 6. I see. Of course, they had no chance but to regrettably accept the invitation, right? Well, what do you think? It's hard to tell, given that I happened to meet him for the first time just a few minutes ago. It's pointless to hide the truth from you. To be honest, he originally was one of the goods offered in a club under my management. Oh, I love that silence with Blanca. That he just doesn't say anything to that. With the clients being, without exception, high-class bureaucrats and politicians. It might have been thanks to his enticing appearance that says, look at me, after all. Indeed, it had proven itself to be complimentary and utterly useful. But the other side of his is, regardless of him being so well made, essentially a rotten egg. What that teacher said is most likely to assume that half of it was true. And then Blanca's like, the other half. Oh, but I fail to believe that you, Monsieur of all people, would call me for just to let me cook a meal with a rotten egg. Right you are. It is true that I don't think of him as a mere rotten egg. According to the Stanford Binet intelligence test, he has an IQ of 180, which we know is 200 by the end of this. And after he'd been tested again, in light of the number being so high, they wanted to make sure it hadn't been due to a mistake. It was announced he had even an IQ above 180. Oh my, that's astonishing. Yeah. But circumstance is nothing but fallacious anyway. Older than 20, you're just a nobody. You know more than a few examples of it, don't you, Blanca? Oh, that's a good line. More than 20, you're just a nobody. You who had an academic degree in psychology as well as psychiatry. Because it was a requirement. With those eyes of yours, I'd like you to evaluate his genius. I want to optimize him. Oh, God, yeah. Mariel, Golzine is disgusting. Yeah, like what Haru says in Free about being normal after 20. Yeah, that's a good comparison. Okay, bottom of page 176. So you intend to become a professor, Higgins? No, it's entirely different from the act of letting a country lass pose as a lady. I think of him as God's vessel. Ew. Anytime that Golzine or Jetlung draw Ash as like a demon and the artwork that is done along with it, it's so interesting, but also gross. A most personal opinion. Okay, a private opinion. Okay, I get it. A most personal opinion of yours would be enough. If you think he is promising, I would like to ask you to raise him with knowledge and experience. I see. It's La Divina Commedia, much rather than My Fair Lady. So it's like Pygmalion, kind of. If you give me your no, then let's cancel the project without hesitation. Monsieur, I don't feel exactly well with you giving me far too much credit like this. You should know what kind of person I am. A living weapon perfected by the Kremlin. Yes. I'm just a murderer. Ooh. Well, if you insist. I am sure you are aware of how much an inefficient usage of time and money resources that one project was back then. From the 300 children who had been certified as geniuses and collected by the Soviet Union, it wasn't more than 18 people who remained after 15 years. The whole rest got filtered out, the ones who simply couldn't do it. Those who sustained severe injuries or died or became insane. There were a lot of reasons, you see. You, however, made it and survived. Oh my gosh. So he's like Ash in that he's like a genius and survived all of that, like abuse and everything. Yes, and that is why I think this way. To artificially create an elite, that's a saying of utter nonsense in the first place. Mankind isn't strong to such an extent. Oh my gosh. So like him telling Golzine, he's like, you want to create him to be this like Adonis and this god, but that's not possible. And it just goes over Golzine's head because he still tries to do it anyway. Playing God bears witness to nothing but foolish arrogance. Say, isn't that your personal opinion? I beg your pardon, Monsieur. I said things I should not have. Yeah, that's why he sees so much of himself in Ash. And that this explains a lot of why Golzine's like, are your personal opinions in check? Are your emotions in check? Like every time he's around Ash, because of moments like this. Oh my gosh, you guys. Even you have your times when you get emotional. Blanca, no, Sergei Vereshkov. But whatever, it does not seem as if we could come to a conclusion on that part anytime soon. It's a partnership between you and me. I'm going to forget about your faux pas just now, and you in return will lend me your ear for my request. How is that? Ooh, just gonna overlook it, Golzine. Just gonna overlook it. Mm-hmm. He just dug his own grave with not coming, huh? Well, if he did, he still doesn't seem to be alarmed in the slightest. Not even when they try to feed a sated cat with bait. Oh, is it a hobby of his to lie around dozing? At the bottom of page 182, guys. You are awake, aren't you? Would you mind me joining you, Wildcat Ash? And that look over his shoulder. Thanks. I thought he would run away, but seems like his curiosity got the best of him. Well, that's just fine with me. I'm called Blanca, a bit of a strange name, but it doesn't matter, right? And I don't care anyway. An inexpressiveness as if he acquired it for himself. A movingly sullen child. Even secretary generals from whatever countries are a tad friendlier. May I ask you a few things about yourself? About your favorite subjects, your preferred baseball team and such? I hate baseball. Dude, I'm kind of the same way. I'm not a baseball fan. Huh? I would have never guessed there are baseball haters among American boys. That a bad thing? Shouldn't exactly be weird or something. An unexpectedly strong reaction. Oh God, baseball. Oh, he would hate it because of the baseball coach. Oh, guys. Oh, shoot. Welp. That hits different. It's not, of course. Jeez. If you ask me, I'm more of a basketball fan myself. We already got one keyword, baseball. So his psychology degree, he's going to apply that psychiatry and be like, okay, baseball is a trigger word. Let's not use it. If you don't want anything particular, can you just leave me alone? I'm tired as hell. Oh, my apologies for bothering you. Our conversation was quite informative for me. Thank you. Informative? How so? Let's see. You hate baseball, and that's how I learned to better not invite you to watch a great league match with me. Furthermore, deep down inside of you, there's an Irishman hidden. Presumably Northern Ireland. Am I wrong? How did you? Alertness. The yellow lights flash. I can faintly hear an Irish accent in your English. Oh, you. What are you? A murderer. Ooh. Have a nice afternoon nap. Oh my gosh, at the bottom, page 187, guys. Oh, just Blanca using that psychology degree to just slowly ease his way through the layers of like the barriers that Ash has put up to being, you know, around someone, to let anyone in. Like he's slowly just peeling back those layers. Oh my gosh. Ash Link's real name, Aslan J. Callan Reese. Birthday, August 12th, 1968. Family, father, James Callan Reese. Mother, no data. Brother, Griffin J. Callan Reese. No trace of whereabouts of Griffin J. Callan Reese since he went to Dong Tan, Vietnam, 1973. Griffin's mother, Audrey Callan Reese, died 1967, which means Ash's mother can't be missing Mrs. Callan Reese. So, okay. Arrest and imprisonment by local police charge. First-degree murder, same year. November, non-prosecution disposal. Murder 6 years ago when he was 8 years old. Really? And that's the guy, the baseball coach. Huh. Look at the Apple shirt. Look at that Mac shirt. Oh my gosh. Hi. I hope you don't mind having me around here. I don't get a real answer. I didn't get a real answer yesterday. My old man is a second-generation Irish immigrant. I've never told anyone. So is he anxious? How could you see through me so easily? Oh, so your father, is it? I see. He's different from alertness. Hey, answer my question. Is he awfully nervous? Why? Oh, Golzine said that he called you to come here for my sake. What's that supposed to mean? Oh, and Ash is like, do not touch me. No. What the hell are you doing? There was a mosquito on you. It didn't bite you, did it? Oh. Now he's in a state of excessive anxiety to a degree where it causes difficulty in breathing. Oh, Blanca, what are you doing, man? Hey, are you all right? You look very pale. Don't touch me. Ash. He seems like he loathes being touched to a most severe extent. Anxiousness and terror now to bring it back to the murder. I wonder what on earth happened 6 years ago. The murder case of the Bluebeard of Cape Cod. Boston Times, 21 October 1976. After Robert Peterson, employee of real estate company, had been shot dead by an 8-year-old boy, the local police discovered the bodies of, according to all accounts, violated and murdered teenage boys in his backyard. 15 bodies in total. That episode was rough. And then, of course, it's being brought back here. The boy who shot Peterson to death has been a member of a baseball team of young boys coached by him. It is assumed that he got sexually abused by him for multiple times. A baseball team coach. I hate baseball. Extreme anxiety, a primal fear of adult men. Yeah. A severe psychological trauma. Yep. And that's like, it connects back to episode 21 where Ash just escaped, or episode 22 where Ash escaped from Fox and Kane like went to touch him and Ash like just was like, nope. And the only person he'd let touch him was Eiji. Guys. Hey, let go of me. What did you just say? What a way to talk to me. Oh, it's Marvin. That looks like anything but a harmless situation. You really think you can get away with talking to me like that, huh? Ash, are you over there? What the hell do you want? I should be the one asking you that. Marvin, Monsieur has requested you hurry up and go. I've been told about Ash and that he used to be a real street kid, living only on the streets. But in spite of that, he's an unbelievably intelligent kid. The richness of what he's being taught in the lessons and generally high standard are astounding on their own, but not only does he understand everything, no, he even rivals the professors who are all experts on their subjects. His precocious intellect allowing him to stand his ground and be on eye level in debates is truly brilliant. Clearly, his outward appearance can't be the only well-made thing about him. The thrill of discovering and training a genius. I guess one doesn't have to be a certain monsieur to become fascinated by him. Oh my gosh, I can't believe we got cameo by that jerk Marvin. But yeah, It makes me hate that Ash dies that much more, because it's like he had so much going for him, and Blanca's seeing that, and it's so clear why Blanca would become wanting to help him, because he can see, like, you're not just a street kid, like, you have so much potential. Oh, the graffiti on the walls and the flying zebra, Blanca watching him. When he's among the street kids, he doesn't fail to stand out either. First and foremost, it may be due to his physical features that attract attention. Is that Alex with him at the bottom of page 199? But whatever it is, there's something about this 14-year-old boy that makes the other kids submit to him. Ugh. However, to stand out also means to become a target. In a world ruled by violence, beauty is nothing but a curse. Ooh, that's a good line. Oh, and of course, I like that Blanca's shirt says love, love on it. That's, I'm surprised. He already knows basic fighter maneuvers. He appears frail and scared, which causes opponents to let their guard down. Incredible, he knows how to turn his biggest weakness into a weapon. Yeah, yep. Oh! Oh, he just shot him without batting an eye. His reflexes are out of this world. That was a clear shot. No signs of intimidation nor caution. One shot without any struggles. I thought that Blanca being put on the scene would be the one to teach him how to, like, shoot and defend himself and use martial arts, but he clearly knows how to do that from the get-go. That's what you call an inexorable, shiver-inducing callousness. I like to think of him as God's vessel. A God's vessel? Or maybe rather a devil, Monsieur. What on earth have you discovered here, I wonder? Yeah, all the symbolism, I'm at the top of page 205, all the symbolism of Ash being compared to both angels and demons it's so fascinating, because it's like such a yin and yang part of him. Like when Eiji comments in the episode, I think it's episode 11, when he comments, he's like, what are you, Ash? Are you this sweet kid that's scared of pumpkins, or are you this murderous gang leader, or are you both? Are you the angel and are you the demon? And the answer is yes, he's both of these things. Yeah, that man. Yes, that's definitely Marvin. What's that? Ash's expression just changed in the blink of an eye. So drastically, it's nearly impossible to believe that this is the same boy from almost a few moments ago. And it's not as though he was putting on an act to make the guy let down his guard. Now he's genuinely scared. Because we know what Marvin's done to him, right? Oh dear, what a scenery. The epitome of shadiness. There he is, so far so good, but Ash isn't with him? Excuse me, the man who just left the building, hadn't he been accompanied by someone at first? Hey, you, what's that about? Oh, well, you see, not a good sign. I'm an acquaintance of Mr. Marvin's. No need to worry. Oh, 5th floor, room number 515. I gather he's a regular here. The brat has the keys. Guessing from your height, you must be big in every way. You better keep the brat in one piece, all right? Oh, God. Ash, are you in there? Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Don't come near me. Oh, he has him tied up. Oh my God, and all that on him. Oh no, that's bad. Ash. Oh my God, Ash, you need to breathe. Come on, take a deep, slow breath. Don't snap. Oh, I won't hurt you, I promise. So please calm down. Trust me. I won't do you any harm, okay? Trust me. Calm down. It's all right. Breathe slowly and steadily. Yes, just like that. Oh my gosh. How many years must it have been since the last time? Holding someone that way. Oh no! That shot of him holding Ash. Do you feel a bit more refreshed now? Come and sit down. Would you like some tea? It's out of a drink dispenser, though, so I don't know about the taste. Oh, and that's such a parallel to Eiji giving him the soup. To Eiji giving him the soup after he had gone through all that with Golzine. And if he says the tea tastes good, you know, I didn't mean to intrude on your privacy, but between you and him, that isn't happening with your consent, right? He must receive punishment. Am I not right in thinking that Monsieur doesn't know about it yet? Marvin and that bald head, they're just the same. Don't you already know who I am and what happened to me? The one who sold me the bald head was no one else but that Marvin guy. The difference just lies in what kind of places they favor for it. The one who likes to do it with me in some cheap hotel smelling like urine. The other one while being wrapped in a down-filled quilt. But that's about it. Their eyes, hollow, absolutely nothing, as if gazing into an entirely empty, pitch-black room. Oh, jeez. They all had the exact same eyes, fear and rage. And then they even go on saying the same things in moments when his rage overcomes his fear, claiming that it was me who asked for it and whatnot. He turns into a merciless, demonic beast. Those bastards. One day, I'll make them pay for this. Are you going to tell him? Oh, gosh! It's so hard because we know what happens in the anime years later. No. If that's not what you want, I'll keep quiet. And if you want to punish them by your own hand one day, I'm fine with that. What? He actually giggled. You know, the stuff you're wearing, that look ain't tight on you at all, really. Looks like rental clothing on you. Huh? What? That look ain't tight. Nope. And you're just making it worse. Do me a favor and never use slang again. He's such a cute child when he's laughing. I wonder if he was given love instead of fear, and if he could rely on someone who wouldn't abuse but gently embrace him. Ah, no. It's useless to think about. Something to drink for you? No, thanks, I'm fine. Given that it's not as though he ever had a choice. He hasn't had, and he won't ever have. But, oh God, but this is the conversation he has with Dragon Moon. He tells Eiji, he realizes that Eiji was the one that gently embraced him. And he has that conversation with Dragon Moon later that you just have to find someone to love and that loves you back. And this is hard. And I think it's about time you let me hear your opinion if you don't mind. I have come to my conclusion indeed. Your observations are certainly right, Monsieur. I guess I can count on your consent then. Just one thing beforehand that I'd been keen on asking you about. What is it? He might revolt against you. That face. You referred to him as a god's vessel, right? A vessel can't revolt against its creator. He, however, is a human being, yes. The act of trying to hold control over a human being is nothing to be taken lightly. I myself am a good example here. When the time is ripe, he might become your uttermost relentless enemy, putting everyone and everything else in the shade. Are you prepared for this? 4 years ago, you foreshadowed this to Golzine, and he didn't learn. There's no need to prepare for anything. I will enforce obedience from him by all means. I understand. I will undertake the job. Oh, guys. Top of page 225. Pretty big mouth you got these days, eh? How many times do I have to tell you I won't let you boss me around any longer? Ha, don't get you conceited just because you've become Monsieur's little mistress. You damn brat. Ooh. Oh my gosh. Why are you beating that child? What the hell do you want? I've been charged with the task of training him by Monsieur Golzine, and I already know very well who you are and what kind of things you've done to him. Oh! Oh! Good! Slap that gun out of his hand. Oh, you could have done it, Blanca. You just could have done it. I'll keep your actions a secret from Monsieur. However, don't you even think about laying a finger on the child ever again. You won't get away with just a wrist injury next time. Come with me, Ash. Hey, did you just break one of his bones? Yeah, you could say so. Should still be able to take a leak, though, as long as his wrist won't swell up. To baseball size, that is. But damn, how did you do that? How can you break someone's wrist that easily? You see, it's a matter of force and direction and vital spots. Well then, do you know what this is about? The Battle of Algiers, a simulation of the offensive and defensive battle around the Kasbah? Exactly. What I want you to do from here on out, though, is develop the simulation based on the original battle further. I'll be acting as the French army, whereas it's your task to calculate the conquest of the Kasbah led by Algeria's National Liberation Front. All needed information regarding the local weather forecast, available types of heavy firearms, and so on can be learned from the file over there I've prepared for you. Over the next few days, you'll be waging war against me with all your might. Got it? All right, time to kick off. You go ahead, please. Oh my gosh. Oh. Ash. Hey? Oh, what's wrong? You got quiet all of a sudden. Did anything happen? No. It's nothing, okay? Don't worry. If that's the case, I'm glad. Oh my gosh, and we're all tying back to this moment in the anime. Must have been my imagination. What? Forget about it. How beautiful. Hey, Dad, the Statue of Liberty's over there. Oh, really? In that direction? Oh my gosh! Okay. Oh. And Mariel, that's why he was on par with Fox for dealing with the battle plans, everything, when they get all the things in line, because of what Blanca taught him. Blanca was Ash's savior and vice versa. Oh my gosh, that. Oh. Okay. Y'all, holy crap. So, on the one hand, that explains so much of Ash's not only reverence to Blanca, because at the very end there, when he finally just broke Marvin's wrist, could have shot him, but he just broke his wrist, and Ash was so enamored and all like, you defended yourself and you did that, and that on the one hand, like, it explains Ash's reverence, it explains Blanca's like appreciation and consideration for Ash and everything. But at the same time, I'm kind of pissed off at Blanca now, because Claire, like you just said in the chat, Blanca going along with Golzine in episode 18 and 17, and Blanca telling Ash to go along with Golzine when he knew what Golzine was doing to Ash. Blanca. Like, I've gained so much more appreciation for the relationship between Ash and Blanca now, and Ash's fear of Blanca and Ash's kind of consideration of Blanca as like a parental figure to him. Because in so many ways, Blanca was a good role model for Ash in ways, but then on the other side of it, Blanca teaching Ash to like all the military strategies, everything. But on the other side of it, that's so sad. Oh my gosh, you guys. Give me a quick bathroom break, all right? Give me a quick bathroom break. My coffee is calling me really quick. I will be right back, y'all. If anybody jumps on the chat here, give me like a 60-second window, and I will be right back, all right? I am going to run to the bathroom. We're going to soak in this heartbreak. I will be right back, and then we will do a few questions and then Garden of Light. So, holy crap, guys. Oh, we're going to talk about this just a second more. I will be right back. Okay. Holy cow. So, all right. That was like, when you have a coffee cup of this size, it's easy to mistake things. I need a quick break. Oh my gosh. Private opinion. Oh my gosh. I hope y'all enjoyed that. That was, whew. That was crazy. I'm looking at the chat right now. Yeah. That he put, okay, so Patam JL, Petam JL thought Ash wanted revenge by way of becoming the ultimate boss instead. Yeah, and that wasn't the case, was it? Oh my gosh. That was crazy, y'all. Crazy. It gives me, like I said, more appreciation for Blanca, but also it's so frustrating. Like, I'm glad that explains him and Ash's relationship more. And the fact that Blanca has a degree in psychology and psychiatry, it makes more sense to how he acts around Dragon Moon and things like that. So, okay. I've got a couple questions here from Nozaria from Patreon that seem appropriate given what we've just read. And so I want to dive into those. So the first question here is, so with topics like sex trafficking and basically rape and sexual abuse and children's stuff, do you think that these topics were handled well in the show? And what do you think about these issues being relevant today and despite the time change? And yeah, so let me just read what Nozaria's actual question was word for word. I hope that's okay, Nozaria. I'm going to read from your thing on Patreon. Let me see on here. The question is, do you think they handled more heavy topics well, such as rape, child sexual abuse, human child trafficking? And what do you feel if you think about this, how it happens in real life even today? It was my first time seeing a male survivor of sexual assault being the main character without it being reduced to a joke or not handled seriously. I've read complaints about Ash being through quote unquote too much, but we shouldn't forget that things like that happen in real life. People who went through one form of abuse as children are likely to end up in other situations like that if your environment is not ideal. And so, yeah, it's Ash being reduced to a Mary Sue. Is that the case or not? that's the saddest thing about this show. I think overall, despite Ash's death, despite Shorter's death, despite everything else that happens, I think one of the most tragic things about this whole series is that with the time changing from the 1980s to modern time, nobody really batted an eye at that. At the fact that they were talking about subjects like child trafficking or sexual assault or things like that. I like you said, Nazaria, I think that it's important that the show had Ash as a main character who's gone through all of this. And I think it's important in the manga and the anime that Ash is able to have a voice and express himself, especially to Eiji and to Max and others, that he's able to get across how he feels, and it's not treated as a joke or as something that's makes Ash weak. Ash's strength is that he's survived all of this and he's found a way to keep living. And I think that's so powerful, but it's so sad that that is still happening, and that we as the audience, we just kind of accept that that's part of the story, when it's like, man, 30 years, 35 years are the difference between 1985 and now. And we still get that it's still going on. And I hate it, to be honest. I hate it. Like it's episode 2, when that police officer had Ash in the room and made him watch the tape of him and Marvin. That was disgusting. And from that moment, I was like, oh, this show is not afraid to go there and to show things and not like censor it or play it off as not being serious. And from that moment on, I was like, okay, I think the show handled it well. There are a few exceptions, and some of you noted this in the actual reaction. I think the big exception, the only exception where I thought it was kind of not handled the best, was when they were escaping the hospital and Ash was dressed up as the nurse. And it was kind of played as a joke when the doctor kind of like sexually harasses him and is like groping him, and Max kind of laughs at it. And that one scene, a lot of you commented it in the reaction. You're like, why is Max laughing at that moment? Because that should really impact Ash as somebody that doesn't want to be touched. And it was kind of played up as a joke. And I agree. That's probably the one time where I was a little uncomfortable watching, because I was like, wait, Ash has just been assaulted. Like, should we laugh at that, Max? I think it's just the fact that and Ash does, like you said, Mariel, he does mention that it's sexual harassment. I think it's the fact that it's just overlooked because Max isn't privy to he gets that Ash has been assaulted. He gets it. But we, the audience, have had more time to spend with Ash and his mindset to really understand, especially after episode 19, when he comes with Golzine to terms with all that's happened between him and Frog. We get more of Ash's side. And so I think maybe Max is kind of the representation of the general audience that typically overlooks things like that, perhaps. But it still is bad. I was like, ooh, that was not in good taste at all. And that's the one real moment I'm like, we should not play that for a laugh. That's not good. And yeah, with Jessica, I think that Jessica, her character going through a similar ordeal, and then in episode 22 where she confronts Ash and she's like, how do you deal with it? Like, it took me 6 months to get over that, and I'm still not fully over it. How do you? And Ash is like, well, I don't really have a choice. And I think that whole scene with it being a nurse does go back to the 80s and it being like kind of just a thing of its time. And the anime included it because I could see the anime can't cut it out because it is plot relevant that he's in the nurse's costume, but it's still tasteless. It's still tasteless even now, but that's a really good question. I think for the most part, the show handles the situation seriously and appropriately, but there are a couple moments like the nurse scene where I'm like, it's a little dated, a little dated. You're not quite appropriate there. But I think 95% of the time, it handles it seriously and handles it in a mature way. A lot better than, like some of you are saying, a lot better than how it could be portrayed. And then, yeah, Max in the gay bar, where, yeah, when he made that comment, he's like, now I know how a woman feels. Like in the moment of that episode, I was like, oh, do you now? It's like, just like, let me roll my eyes for a second. Like, you know, okay. That joke was a little dated too. Which I do appreciate that there's a little bit of nuance, like in later when Singh slaps Jetlung in that final scene with the two of them talking, and then Jetlung starts crying after breaking down, and Dragon and Singh is like, quit crying like a girl, and Dragon Moon's like, well, excuse me for being a woman on the inside too. Like he's just like fires it back at him. I do appreciate stuff like that where Dragon Moon's like, quit judging me because I'm crying. I'm sorry, I'm emotional. It's like, okay. But that's a really good question, Azaria. I really like that. Another question on here. Max was kind of insensitive times. He was, Max. But here's the thing, Mariel, that's a good point. I think that one good thing about this show is that these characters are all flawed. I think that there's not a Mary Sue in this show. There is not a perfect character. Even Eiji, for as much as Eiji gets away with in terms of causing conflict in this show, which, again, eventually down the road, I'm going to make like a Krillin counter from Dragon Ball Z Abridged where it's like Eiji starts conflict counter. And it's just like the whole series is just going to like keep popping up, Eiji causing all this conflict. Eiji's not perfect. Like Eiji isn't a perfect character. He just is a very loving character and is pure in the sense of he is completely devoted to Ash as a friend and as more than that. And so it does make the characters more realistic. Like Max can be insensitive, but that's his character. That's part of him. It makes him more human. And so even though it's cringeworthy at times, how about eBay-san? I will say in the manga, eBay did frustrate me a little bit because eBay, and I get where eBay's coming from in the manga, eBay did not, by the end of the manga, eBay was very much like, I don't want Ash around Eiji anymore. And he was like, there's scenes where he's in the hospital with Eiji and he's like, I want to be here instead of Ash. Like, I want to be watching over Eiji instead of Ash. And I get where eBay is coming from there because Ash has been connected to a lot of what's happened with Eiji as well. But there's a couple times I was like, but eBay, surely you can see what everybody else is seeing, that Ash and Eiji should be together. And he just kind of like pushes Ash away, I feel, by the end of it. So, but other than that, yeah, eBay's an MVP. eBay is pretty, you know, we can't fault him, right? So, all right. One question before we get into Garden of Light. Why did Ash stay in the library instead of going to get help? Nazaria asked this question. Why did Ash stay in the library and not go get help? And oh man, we're getting into talking about the end of the anime. And I think this is appropriate because the other question Nazaria had was, do you think that a different ending would have been as impactful? So those two questions, let's do those. So do we think a different ending would have been as impactful? Like if Ash had lived, and why do you think Ash stayed in the library instead of going to a hospital or calling 911? Yeah, because Ash decided himself to die. Okay. The ending of this anime was so hard because we all see as the audience all the different choices that Ash could have made in that moment. Like it all leading up to this. Oh gosh. The Kilimanjaro reference that he's gone up the mountain so far he can't come back down. You've pushed too far into it, you can't escape. I mean, there's so many layers to these questions that there's so many layers to it. It's, oh my gosh, you guys. So in terms of why he went to the library, one, he is a wanted criminal. I was thinking of that in the episode. I'm like, if he went to the police or he went to an ambulance or a hospital, he's been technically, you know, he's been considered dead. He was considered dead from Garden of Eden's episode. So the police haven't been looking for him. He makes that point a lot. He's like, I'm a dead man walking. And he makes that point that like Fox and his men are just like him. They're all dead men. They're not on their records anymore. They have, you know, the death certificates. So in one respect, I was like, okay, well, Ash can't go to a hospital because they all think he's dead. When he goes to a hospital to get help, they're going to find out that he's been alive all this time, and then he's going to get turned over to the police because Charlie establishes that, you know, you're not a minor anymore, you're an adult, and you've killed all these people. So yeah, if you get caught again, you're probably going to jail, and it's probably going to be for a long time. So I thought that in the moment, like logistically, he can't go to a hospital because he's technically dead already, and the police will find him and arrest him. So I thought that was in the back of my head during that scene. I was like, okay, well, technically speaking, it would be hard for him to do that. But also symbolically, he's reading that letter. And I know a lot of you commented in the reaction that at that point, when he's reading the letter and realizing that Eiji, when he says, my soul is with you, that Ash is like, okay, Eiji's safe. Like, he's going to be okay. And he's with me. And I can, and it's sort of, y'all brought this up, that Ash was like, Ash has never been afraid of death. And in the episodes where he's in the hospital and he thinks he's dying, and there's like the Grim Reaper's hand on him, and he's like, death feels calm. It feels like all of my problems are escaping me. And it's just this calm, peaceful ending. And you get the idea that Ash thinks that death is just going to be like a release from all the pain and suffering that he's been through. And so in that moment, he knows that Eiji's safe. He knows Eiji's going back to Japan. He knows that Eiji loves him and that Eiji's soul is with him. And Ash tells Blanca in that scene before, he's like, I'm just a thug on the streets. I'm just going back to being the scum on the streets. Things aren't changing, even though Golzine's gone. And they can't change. He's stuck in this world. So I feel like once Lau stabs him, he's like, well, I know I can't go to the hospital, but also this is my way out, knowing that Eiji's safe and that it's okay. And like you said, Mariel, in the chat, he chose his own happy ending, as twisted and dark and morbid as it is. Yeah, the only person that can kill Ash is Ash himself. And that's been foreshadowed this entire series. Like, Max did comment saying Eiji's going to be the one to kill you, to get you killed. But Kane's like, the only one that can kill Ash is himself in the end. Like, you're your own worst enemy. And I commented about this to some of you in the reaction to episode 24. I feel like Lau was such a representation of that old world. Before we started Banana Fish, the world that was like in Private Opinion, the world of these gangs and of Golzine and this power and this darkness, like, it was all just this unchanging cycle. And the whole thing with Banana Fish was that nothing's changing. It's going to be used by the government against people. Like, it's all just perpetuating this history repeating itself. And Eiji and Ash meeting was like this cataclysm that like started things becoming different, right? And they brought Kane's gang and Singh's gang and Shorter and all of them together to kind of become united against Golzine and to start changing things. Like, these gangs that had been against each other were starting to come together and be friendly and work towards a common cause. And I feel like Kane and Singh got on board with the idea that things were different, and that they could no longer go back to the way things once were from episode 1 of the series. Like, it was all, things had changed too much. But Lau was stuck in the past. Lau couldn't accept the fact that things were changing. He's like, no, Ash is going to be a demon. He's going to kill us all. He's going to kill Singh. And Lau just couldn't accept that. And he's trying to protect Singh. But I talked about this to some of you all in the reactions. I feel like the miscommunication, I feel like it was such karma biting back Ash. If Ash could have just told Lau about Shorter's death and about Banana Fish, I'm like, would that have changed things? If Lau knew that Ash wasn't going to fight Singh anymore, would that have changed things? It's like all the what if scenarios. It's just so hard. But I do agree that if Ash, I thought they both were going to die. I thought Eiji was going to die and that Ash was going to go with him. I thought Eiji was going to die first in episode 24 and Ash was going to find out about it. And then he was going to basically go on a suicidal revenge route, and they both were going to end up dying. Because in the ED, you know, a lot of you did say in Patreon that it was going to be spoilery, the ED was, and I was like, in the ED, like Ash and Eiji are in that wheat field. It's like Gladiator, where he goes through the wheat at the end and like runs his hand over it, and that's symbolic of him dying, him going through the wheat field. Ever since I saw that ED, I was like, are they both gonna die? Like, and then end up in the wheat field, and that's them in the afterlife, happy together, you know? I thought that's how it was gonna end. And no, mm-mm. The fact that Eiji lives, it's satisfying and both frustrating at the same time. And I have a feeling when I read Garden of Light here in a minute, it's going to hurt worse. And I'm not ready. I'll be honest, y'all. Yeah, walking towards the light, towards the sunset. I'll be honest. Private opinion, that there are some moments in that one that we just read that really got me. And y'all are saying Garden of Light's worse. Ooh, I don't know. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. But yeah, I do think it will hurt more. Oh no. So yeah, I've just been answering Dexter some questions from Patreon. We were just I was asking you all, do you think that if the ending had been different, would it have impacted the story? And I do think I applaud the show and I applaud the manga. It's rare that a manga series kills off its main character in such a way. I know there are series that do kill off the main characters. I know there are series like that. But yeah, I'm glad. A part of me, I felt really satisfied by the ending of the series because, like, okay, this was Ash's story, and Ash has suffered the most tragic backstory of any character of an anime or manga I've ever read. If death is his peace and his way of getting out of this world, and he still knows that Eiji loved him, then I guess I'll accept it. But I hate it because, like Private Opinion just showed us, Ash had so much potential. Like IQ of 200, so much potential to do something good. And he was trapped in this world that wouldn't let him do it and was actively fighting back against him the whole time. And that sucks a lot. So yeah, Nazaria, Ray, thank you guys so much for those questions. That's a lot to think about. And I know that it's still stuff that people talk about and are still debating about Banana Fish. Like, what? I'm glad that they didn't both live. I am, honestly, because I feel like that would just be Catcher in the Rye for the very end of the stream. I feel like that would have been kind of a cop-out if they both lived, and it would have been like, but I'm still amazed that they both didn't die. Still crazy. Yeah, Nazaria, as much as I hated the ending, I still prefer it this way. It hurts more, and I'll remember it more. Yeah. I think there's another series that I watched that's Toilet Bound Hanako-kun. And there's a line in that series. It has a ridiculous title, but it's a really good series if you've not read or watched it. The manga. I'm going to do volume 15 of it in a few weeks that I reacted to, and it made me cry. So if reading a manga aloud makes you cry, that means you know it's good. But there's a line in that series where they say that the things that are scary and tragic are more memorable than the happy things. I believe so. Arias, my camera turned off. Is it on, guys? I feel like, is my camera on? I hope it is. It does glitch a little bit. So because this computer is ancient. So hopefully y'all can see me. Oh, man. Okay. Good. I'm glad it's on. Savvy bien. Thank you. Okay. So it's Garden of Light time. It's Garden of Light time, and I'm scared because you all have warned me. Okay. I have with me volume 19. It's the last volume. And I'm not ready. I'm not ready. And I don't even know what's going to happen. I'm not ready. Okay. So, I can't get over your massive. Yes, my friend got me this for me for Christmas years ago. You need a big. There is no alcohol in this. It's just coffee. It's just a mix of regular and decaf. Because I think if I drank a whole cup of just caffeinated coffee, I'd probably be bouncing off the walls. So it's a mix. But all right, let me pull up, guys, the link to Garden of Light that I have. To send you all. I am reading from the manga volume, so it's a little bit different. Let me find it on here. Oh, buddy. All right, let me find. I have a link saved to it. And again, when I do this whole thing, when the stream is over and I put it up online. I'll have this link as well. I will go ahead and apologize. This is the only Garden of Light link that I could really find that was good and had the whole thing. So it's split into 4 parts. So you guys will have to follow along with me. Thank you all so much. I will look up OBS when this is over as well, so that if I do future streams, I'll be able to maybe get that software to do things side by side. So thank you all for telling me about that. I apologize that you won't be able to follow along with me on the screen. When this stream is over, probably in the next week or 2, I am going to go back and watch the animatic for Garden of Light, and I'm going to record my reaction to it and probably cry again. So I will post it on here as well. So this stream won't be the end of Banana Fish. It'll just be the end discussion of it. But there will be more videos of Banana Fish related content to come. So let me post Garden of Light on here. Let me see if this posts. Let me replace it with the pinned. Okay. Let me see. Make sure it's. Is it in Spanish? Oh no! Crap. Are you kidding? Oh, dang it. That makes me really sad. Dang it. I'm so sorry, guys. If this link doesn't work, I'm so sorry. If you guys are going to... Oh, did they post English subs? Okay. Hopefully you guys can follow along with me. I'm really sorry if it doesn't work correctly. I'll try to, when I save the stream, I'll try to go back. Is it not? Oh. I tell you what, guys, I'm going to go back when this stream is over, and I will find a link. If you guys have a source, Nozaria, if you have a different source, could you please post a link to it, and I will pin it if I can. Yeah, Nozaria, if you can post a link to the source that you have for Garden of Light, I'll pin that on here, and that way people can follow along too. Because I'm reading from the manga, so I will keep that link on here, and then I'll post it in when I save the stream. I'll go back and post it, so if people go back and rewatch the stream, they can get to it. But yeah, not to put you on the spot, Nazaria, but if you have a link to it, that would be awesome. If you want to post it in the chat, that would be cool. Okay, some of the chapters in it. Yes, please. That would be awesome. So yeah, let me see. Yeah, Angel Eyes is in here. I love Angel Eyes. It's so good. Well, Nazaria is posting that. Angel Eyes is so freaking good. And then just the idea of Shorter's backstory with Ash. It's so good. All right. Hopefully, if Nazaria, if you get that posted in the chat, I'm going to pin it on here so everybody can get it. All right, let me get to Garden of Light in here. Angel Eyes is a pretty long segment, too. I'm glad they included it in this volume, but it's pretty long. All right. All right, Nazaria. So if you post that in the chat, I will pin it on here. I'll just keep looking back in the chat here. But in the meantime, oh, the finale for the animatics only came out a few weeks ago. Well, then this is perfect timing. So that will be up really good. Oh, okay. Must scroll. Wushin, are you putting it on there too? Whatever link we get, I will pin it, because that way people can follow along with me too, because I've just got the manga in my hand right now, the volume of it. It's on a pirated site. Well, you know, I mean, the private opinion that I just read was from Imager, so, you know. When in Rome, we can only do so much. I like Pirates of the Caribbean. I won't judge you. We support when we can. Can you post links in chat? I think so. If anybody posts it, I will pin it. I pinned the chat. I pinned the link that I have, but I don't know if it's might be in Spanish. Oh no, it doesn't show up. Oh, that's sad. Nazaria, if you can message me that link on Patreon. It's not showing links. That sucks. If you can message me that link on Patreon, what I'll do, Nazaria, is I will. Dexter, you read Blanca's story illegally. Does that make you a pirate of the Caribbean? Oh, Keith, there we go. I'm pinning yours. Yours showed up. Awesome. Wushin, I did not see your links. They're not showing up. Keith posted his. It wasn't as a link though, so it was just as a thing. So there we go. Maybe that will help. That Keith, I think that worked. Dexter, that comment was brilliant. I will definitely accept myself as a pirate of the Caribbean, especially if I can hang on the shores of Blanca. Yay. Let me grab on Patreon here just a second. Keith sent it through there. Let me grab that and put it on here as well. Oh, Wushin, I got yours too. Awesome. Thank you all so much. Let me copy that link address. Nazaria, thank you as well. Yeah, it looks like it's from a similar site. Let me put it on here. All right. All right, I'm replacing this. I'm going to replace the pin. There's a link here, guys. It is finally posted. Yay. There's a link. There's a link. I got sent several, so thank you guys so, so much. The link's on there, so now you guys can get on there and read along with me. So hopefully that helps. All right, hopefully that helps, guys. Like I said, I will post, several of you sent me links, so I'll post all of those in the stream when I'm done with it so that you guys can go back and watch it. But, oh, buddy, here we go. All right, here we go. There's another link too. I'll post it as well. Okay. All right. Okay, guys, hopefully that works because we're ready to do this. Garden of Light. All right. And it looks like, I'm trying to think who that is with the Mr. Fish and the Mr. Bone shirt. I guess I'm going to find out. Okay. The first time I ever met Okamura-san was at Uncle Shunichi's very first exhibition. Photographs by Shinichi eBay athletes. Uncle Shinichi is my dad's little brother. Oh! He chose to become a photographer even though my grandpa and dad were against it. Okamura-san was the subject of the very first pictures Uncle Shinichi sold, and he worked as Uncle Shinichi's assistant while he was in college. Oh, hi. So you're Akira-kun. Aside from thinking I was a boy the first time we met, he was really nice and always played with me whenever we saw each other. Oh. Now Okamura-san's a photographer himself in New York City. Oh no! Oh no! No, he's a photographer in New York. Oh no! Oh no! It's been 3 years since I saw him, and I've come to New York to stay at his house. Oh, so is this Eiji and Akira? Oh, buddy. He became a photographer like eBay. Oh, buddy. He got his green card 2 years ago. I guess he's staying here forever. August 1994. So it's been 9 years. It's been 9 years since the start of Banana Fish. Oh, buddy. This is not good. Where is he? He was supposed to come to the airport. Oh, welcome Akira eBay. Are you Akira? Look at his little face. Come back here. Come back here. You're Akira, right? Ebay's niece, Akira? That was Japanese. This guy's Japanese? Uh-huh. I'm not Japanese. I'm American. I'm Chinese American. My name is Sing. Nice to meet you. Oh! He's huge. And Sing got bigger. Oh! I'm a friend of Eiji, okay? Eiji got busy with work, so I came to get you instead. Is this all your stuff? Yes. Okay, let's go. Who is this guy? Nobody mentioned him to me before. Oh. Oh no. Like Sing's all grown up. Sing's all grown up and Sing is all grown up, and he's wearing like a dinosaur shirt because it's the 90s and Jurassic Park's come out. And oh, buddy, what if he's actually a kidnapper or something? Oh, you don't trust me. Here, let to show me some proof. He's trying to say Japanese. He is. He's Blanca's size now. That's you, right? You gave him this, Okamura-san, and he recognized me from it too. Wow. So Akira's a girl. Okay. All right. Oh. Wow. This is like the apartment in that movie Ghost. The one with Demi Moore? Yeah, that one. You think? Oh, hey, Eiji's back. Eiji. Okamura-san. Eiji-chan. Oh, his hair's all grown out. His hair's all grown out like ashes. Oh, and Akira looking at him. Yep. And it's kind of grown out like dragon moons too. Oh. Yep, she's here. Hey, buddy. His hair's grown. And he looks kind of different. Thanks for going, Sing. Egi-chan. And he's wearing glasses. Oh, no. His hair's grown out kind of like Dragon Moon, but he's wearing the glasses like Ash. Egi-chan, is that really you? Wow, you sure have grown a lot. That's right. You're already in middle school. I'm really sorry I couldn't pick you up at the airport. Did you think I'd forgotten about you? No, I was fine. Aside from your hair, you haven't changed a bit, Okamura-san. He should be 28 by now, but he seems just the same as he always was, like a college student. Well, you've changed, Aki-chan. You're more girlish now, a real young lady. No, I'm not. So how'd it go? Okay, it's going to happen. Cool, that's great, Eiji. He's going to have a show at a really famous gallery. Wow, really? That's great. Hey, Aki-chan, I have tomorrow afternoon off. So if there's any place you want to see, I can take you there. Really? Let's see. I know, Greenwich Village. That's where we are. Oh, so they're in Greenwich. Oh, that's cool. We are? Oh, okay. Then, oh yeah, Tiffany might have guessed. Bet you the Empire State Building comes next. Oh, I want to go to the New York Public Library with the statues of the lions. It was in Ghostbusters. Of course it was. Why don't I take you there? I have to return some books anyway. Then we'll stop at Tiffany's and meet Eiji in Central Park for lunch. How's that? Will we have a picnic? No way. This is you, Sing? Yep, I was a total shrimp till I was 16, but now I'm 6'3". Oh my gosh, Sing is 6'3" now? He's gotten so tall. You're so tiny. Leave me alone. Sing's Japanese is really good. He kind of scared me at first, but he actually seems pretty nice. Is she asleep? Yeah. I thought she might be wired by the time difference, but I guess she was real tired. Thank you. You aren't over it yet, huh? Here comes the pain train. And you? Are you over it yet, Sing? Are you? Oh my God. That panel, that page right there, that's pain. Okay. Sooner or later, the world economy will be unable to move forward without taking China into account. The Chinese government's proactive stance towards financial reform anticipates the country's entry into the GATT in the 90s. And with a population that's 1/5 of the global total, that is to say, a huge potential market, the opportunities for companies worldwide are obvious. Banking on the promise of rapid further development, China is moving steadily towards becoming a market economy. It's hard to believe this was written by an 18-year-old. Precocious little bastard. It was written by Ash, wasn't it? It's me, from Hong Kong. Put him through. Hello, Sing, how are you? Okay, what about you? A little tired. I've been crisscrossing Guangdong for the past month. The special economic zones? Exactly. We're going to be setting up a joint venture over there. Are you sure you can trust the Chinese government? Yeah, right. Kind of ironic, huh? So now you'll be playing psych out with your own countrymen. Great way to make sure you die young. What? You're starting to sound like him. The way you just said that. Your tone, your inflection, just like him. Well, you practically idolized him after all. I'm hanging up if you're done with business. You're delving through his database, aren't you? Have you found anything interesting? It's all interesting. I mean, damn, he has stuff in there on everything, economics, history, pharmacology, you name it, and all neatly filed away in labeled folders. I never knew he was so organized. His ability to gather information was nothing short of phenomenal. So who is he on the phone with? Is he on the phone with Blanca or is he on the phone with Dragon Moon? I think it's Dragon Moon. I found a whole bunch of files with essays he wrote too. I can print some out and fax them to you if you want. Nobody would believe a kid of 17 or 18 wrote them 8 years ago, man. Mind-blowing and somewhat annoying. You seem to be enjoying yourself. You always sound so animated when you're talking about him. A journey into Ash's mind. Very intriguing. I'd like to take it myself. Are you camping out at Eiji's all the time, by the way? I'm not camping out, and it's not all the time. You don't have to keep it a secret from me. Oh, it is Dragon Moon, isn't it? Oh! I bear some responsibility for the obligation you feel towards him. Do whatever you need to do. I plan on leaving New York in your hands eventually. So long as you keep that in mind, I don't intend to interfere in your private life. Just one piece of advice, though, and I say this as your friend. As your friend! Dragon Moon is his friend. Don't fight your memories, because you're never going to win. I'm going to hang up. Say hi to Ash for me. So, Dragon Moon's leaving, eventually seeing to the Chinese mafia in New York, and he's going to China, to Hong Kong, to deal with things over there. And him talking about him leaving, like, Ash and all that. Oh, God, you guys. Oh, this is bad already. This is bad already. Dear Uncle Shun, how are you? New York is a lot of fun, says Sakura. I'm really glad that I had courage to come. Thanks for talking Mom and Dad into letting me do this. Guess what? Okamura-san is going to have an exhibition. He's really busy getting ready for it in between his assignments. I'm helping him out. I got to know everybody at the gallery, and I've even learned a little English. Hi, Sing. Hi, Akira. Is Eiji around? Yeah, in the dark room. Sing is hard to figure out. He's 23, 5 years younger than Okamura-san, and a student at the City University of New York. Okay, I'll wait for him to come out. He has this really fancy house out on Long Island, but for some reason he spends most of his time at Okamura-san's. Oh! He even has his own room here. It kind of seems like this is where he really lives. Are you cooking for 3 people again tonight, Okamura-san? Yep. But Sing said he was going to eat out tonight at a French restaurant. I bet he shows up here, though. It's only a business dinner after all. Business dinner? What do you mean? Oh, but Eiji just left out a salad with the shrimp, which is Ash's favorite. Like, even if Sing doesn't show up, he's making a meal for him. Sing's a businessman. He's the president of a trading company and owns a few buildings down in Chinatown. What? No way. I thought he was a student. The educational system here is different from in Japan. It isn't that uncommon for somebody to do business and go to school at the same time. Once he gets his degree from the City University of New York, Singh is hoping to get into Harvard Business School for his MBA. Having an MBA makes a huge difference for doing business, apparently. Oh, I guess that's why he studies so late every night. American college students sure have it tough. Eiji, give me something to eat. Oh, you ask me, French food is total crap. Oh, and Singh looks so much like Blanca there with his hair pulled back and the suit. You wear suits sometimes, Singh? You look so different, like a different person. Make you swoon? You in love with me, Akira? Ew, no way. Aw, why don't you just admit it, kiddo? I am not. Hey, you two, dinner's almost ready. Now this is what I call good food, prawn tempura. That's because we're from the land of chopsticks. Hey, Aki-chan, do you like New York so far? I love it here. For one thing, nobody ever says that's a boy's name when they hear my name. What, is Akira a boy's name? Mostly. What about your name, Singh? Does it mean anything? Demon, lion, and also guilt. Hey, Aki-chan, don't you like your own name? I hate it. I love your name. Do you know that Akira means dawn? No! I know somebody else whose name means the same thing. No! No! Maybe Akamura-san has changed a bit from the time he used to play with me. Okay. Eiji, I came to help you out. Hey, Michael. Oh my God, it's Max's son. It's Michael. Oh. Hey, Michael. It's so cool you're doing this show. Mom and Dad are really excited about it too. Oh God, the gang's all here. Mom and Dad are really excited about it too. They said they'd stop by tonight. Oh, Aki-chan, you haven't met Michael yet. Remember Max and Jessica? We saw them last week. Well, this is their son, Michael. Oh my God, Michael, this is Akira. She's Ibe-san's niece. She's visiting from Japan. I think you guys are about the same age. Akira, hey. He says you have the same name as an anime. Oh, because Akira would have been out by now. Michael's a big fan of Japanese anime and manga. What was it called? The one you like best? Dragon Ball, Loom from Urusei Yatsura, Sailor Moon. Don't tell me this kid is an otaku. Oh my God. Gee, otaku over here are pretty good looking. No. Well, of course, Jessica's beautiful. So, of course, her and Max's kid. Hey, Eiji, aren't you going to have any pictures of Ash in the show? I couldn't find any good ones. Ash. Sounds kind of familiar. And you know, in this, Michael looks kind of like Ash too, with the hair just a little bit. Sounds kind of familiar. Mikey, do me a favor and take that panel over to section A3. Sure thing. Wow, all these pictures were taken in New York City. He's filed them in the order they were taken. Well, he is a pro after all. 1985. That's the year Okamura-san came to New York for the first time with Uncle Shun at Library WA with Ash. I wonder why only this picture is missing. Wait, here's another one. Oh, aren't you going to have any pictures of Ash in the show? Now I remember. You're applying for a green card. Does that mean you're still thinking about Ash, Eiji? A is for Ash. So who is Ash? This is being read like a really depressing bedtime story. I'm glad it's coming across that way. Okay, so we've got Singh doing his boxing training. Okay, Singh, stop, time out. Your right's pretty good, but your left hook needs work. My left, huh? Still, man, those were some good punches. You got the height and you got the right build. You got the guts. Have you ever thought of boxing for real? So long as you lay off of the ladies, you could go pro. No thanks. Chicks mess up your legs. 1 round in the sack and they're jello. How about if you go 2 rounds? Saying you got a visitor. Oh. Hi, Akira. How'd you find me here? Michael told me. Yo, Sing, jailbait more your style, dude? Yeah, right. She's visiting Eiji. So what's up? Do you know somebody named Ash? You do, don't you? Why are you asking me this? I was looking through Okamura-san's files, and everyone that says A, the picture is missing. That shot of Sing's face. Ash is the name of my computer, Akira. Huh? You go on home now. I'll be there soon. See? Akira meet Ash. Ash meet Akira. That's an old model. Yep, it sure is. Still works just fine. Did this belong to that person named Ash? Yeah, it did. And now I'm using it now with Eiji's permission. Did Okamura-san love this Ash person? Yes, he did. Very much. A simple yes would have been fine. Was this Ash person beautiful? Very beautiful. So beautiful you could hardly believe it. Green eyes, blonde hair, long arms and legs, graceful way of moving, the IQ of 200 and the education to go with it. I'm going back to the gallery. I ought to help out some more. Cool. Tell Eiji I'll be there later to... Is someone jealous? Ash. Don't fight your memories, because you're never going to win. And it's just him thinking. Okay. Very beautiful. So beautiful you could hardly believe it. Okamura-san is still stuck on that Ash person. How did you find Sing? He wasn't at the gym today? Oh, that Sing's a real meanie. Are you satisfied? Eiji's yours forever. Is that what you wanted? And just talking to like the cold computer. Guess what? He hasn't gone anywhere near the public library in 7 years. He won't even go anywhere you can see the public library. I keep wondering, what were you thinking about that day? While the blood slowly drained out of your body and your blood pressure and body temperature dropped during those long, long hours until death finally came. You must have suffered a lot because the knife missed all your vital organs, and yet you were smiling. Oh God, and he saw him as if you were having a really good dream. Oh, and he found the note. Did this have something to do with that? You're not alone, Ash. I'm with you. My soul's always with you. Geez, look at this. It's practically a love letter. Eiji's letter stained with Ash's blood and with his tears. It must have been this that let Lao get to you that day. Because there's no way he could have killed you otherwise. I can never say this to Eiji. I'll just have to keep it myself and live with it. So he's not shown Eiji the letter? No! It's been long enough, Ash. You hear me? The way I'll always live with what Lao did. Let Eiji go now. If you don't let him go, you'll never be happy again. I need him to be happy because until he is, I can't. Listen to me, Ash. I'm getting him back from you no matter what. So to sing like Eiji, but okay. Oh, and then Michael's drawing the little anime. Or no, Akira's drawing it. Blonde hair, green eyes. Oh, Akira thinks it's a woman. Long hair, green eyes, long arms and legs. What's that? Can I see? It's nothing. I can't draw anyway. Eiji's about to be interviewed. I guess he's hitting the big time. Oh, yeah. I just heard that the Village Voice had requested an interview with him. So most of the works in this show were featured in Vanity Fair and other magazines. Is that correct? Yes, that is correct. People who see your work sense an indefinable, what shall I call it, warmth, kindness, in that camera's gaze towards its subjects, which might be considered at odds with your choice of locale, that is to say, New York City. Indeed, the freshness of your approach has caused waves in the New York art scene. What is your own attitude to the city? I believe you were assaulted by a mugger several years ago and left seriously wounded. Didn't that experience give you a negative view of New York? Let me see. How shall I put it? It's true that New York and its people are aggressive in both the good and bad senses of the word, but everything is here, the sleazy and the sweet, the horrible and the good. As a friend of mine once said, he was talking about his hometown. In other words, it's not all sweetness and light. So if my photographs give the impression you described, that may be because I love both the light and the darkness. I see. Well, I think your answer clearly shows that you yourself are just as compassionate as your pictures. Oh, not really. Just ask my assistants. I sometimes lose my temper and yell at them. You lose your temper? I can't even imagine. Michael. Did you know someone named Ash? Oh, I sure did. He was my hero. Still is. He? Sing. What is it, kid? That person, Ash, was a man? Let's get out of here. Where's this? This is where me and my family used to live a long, long time ago. Everything is here, the sleazy and the sweet, the horrible and the good. Who told you about Ash? I found out from Michael. Was this Ash person Okamura-san's, lover? Oh, God. He was more than that, which doesn't mean their relationship was sexual, because it wasn't. But they did love each other, maybe the way lovers do. They were connected to each other, soul to soul. But he died, right? This Ash person? Yeah, he was killed by my brother. My brother Lau was the one who killed Ash. It happened 7 years ago. 7 years ago. That's around the time Okamura-san came back from New York with those injuries. But then he went back to New York almost right away with Uncle Shun before his wounds even healed. And then Uncle Shun came back to Japan alone. Eiji changed after that in every single way. His personality, the way he lives. Ash's death totally changed him. It changed Eiji's whole life. Oh, God, he's there. I saw the two of you leaving and guessed you might come here. Aki-chan, could you go home ahead of us? I need to talk to Sing. No. I'm not ready. I can't go back, but I'm not ready. Sure. See you later. I'll make dinner for all of us, okay? She's going to make dinner for all of us. That's a pretty sweet kid there. Have I really changed so much? Saying I've grown up, that's all. I think I'm doing okay. That's not what I'm talking about. Oh, Jesus. laughing as a defense mechanism because it's like, why'd I agree to read this live to you all? Ash is dead. Why can't you accept that? He's dead, Eiji. Let him go. Just let go, damn it. Why can't you move on? I want you to be happy again, Eiji. Saying, I think I'm going up to Cape Cod tomorrow to take some pictures. Why don't you come with me? I'm taking Buddy along and Akira. So Buddy's the dog and Akira too. That hug. Gosh, it's really pretty here. Yeah, it is. This is where Ash was from. Really? Yep. Once, where we were here before, we went to the river to go fishing. Oh. Oh. Sorry, I thought you were a friend of mine. Excuse me. No problem. Move a little bit further to your right, Aggie-chan. Yeah, right around there. Oh, so it's Sing. Oh, okay, one more. Oh, so on the cover it's Sing and they're at Ash's house. Oh God. Wow, see that? How the light's sparkling through the branches? I'm taking Buddy for a little walk. Okay, have fun. Don't go too far away, okay? Why'd you invite Akira to come stay with you? Do you even know her that well? Her parents, you see, aren't getting along very well right now. Aki-chan thinks it's her fault. Her father, Ibe-san's older brother, was the one who named her. Well, according to Ibe-san, he's not a bad person, but he's kind of insensitive. He'd say stuff like, I really wanted a boy, so I only came up with boy names. Or, I sure was disappointed when we had a girl. He actually said that stuff like that in front of Aki-chan. Sometime after she started middle school, Aki-chan started having all kinds of health problems. Ibe-san wrote in one of his letters that coincided with the time she got her first period. And what that suggests is she's having trouble accepting herself as a girl. She thinks that the reason her father doesn't come home anymore is that because she isn't a boy like he wanted. So that's what this is about. I guess I was wrong about you then. Deep down, you haven't changed a bit, Eiji. You've got this amazing ability to sense the last desperate SOS signals people send out. I bet this is why Ash loved him. Like the time you found Buddy, even nobody but you would have noticed that tiny puppy in the trash can. You've got a sixth sense for those who need help. He was probably the only one who sensed Ash's pain. But there was one signal that I ignored, and that was yours, Sing. I pretended not to hear it. You see, I knew about the letter. I knew that my letter was the reason. That's not true. I knew about it, but I didn't tell you that. I knew how terrible you felt, but I didn't try to take the load off your shoulders. I kept asking myself why I didn't go see him myself, instead of asking you to take that letter. I kept telling myself I should have gone, even if I had to crawl on my hands and knees. It was killing me. So I just focused on hating Lau and ignoring your pain. It was the only way I could live with myself. I'll never forget Ash. I'd never want to forget him. But that doesn't mean I'm not happy or that I'll never be happy again. She's right there. Ash lived all out, 100%. You and I know that better than anybody else. I'm just grateful and proud that I got to spend at least a short while in the company of that brilliant, miraculous life force. I'm really sorry, Sing, for making you live with that by yourself. I don't know if I even ought to be around you, but, well, I could never replace Ash. Of course you can never replace Ash. Just like nobody could ever replace you, Sing. And nobody could ever replace you, Aki-chan. There's only one of you in the whole wide world. Guess what? Ash's real first name was Aslan. And that means dawn, just like your name. I know somebody whose name means the same thing. I love your name, Aki-chan. And I love you. I'm sorry for keeping you locked up for so long. I hid away all your pictures, as if that would make any difference. Going through the slideshow. Right after we got back from Cape Cod, Okamura-san put up this picture at the very back of the gallery. Its title was Dawn. The young man in the picture looked very peaceful, like he was sleeping or maybe praying, and the side of his face was gently lit by the morning sun. So this was Ash. He really was beautiful. Group hug needed indeed. And Zing's crying. Y'all packed? Yep, I think. Hey, Aki-chan, what about Gorby? Oh, he's on the desk. Go on ahead then, I'll bring him. Okay, so I'll load this into the car. Sing. This car's way too small for you. Used to fit me just fine before. His head's hitting the top. You know what? I'm really glad I was born a girl. Because then I can grow up to be a foxy lady and get married to Okamura-san. You big dope. By the time you're a foxy lady, he's going to be an old man, silly. Well, you'll be an old man soon, too, so there. Let's see. When you're 20, I'm going to be 30. That's pretty old. Well, who cares? Come back to New York when you've grown up to be a foxy lady. Of course I'm coming back. Okay. Oh, and Gorby's the bear. Here we go. Okay, let's get moving. Sing, are you still driving this car? See? And I'll be so foxy, Sing won't know what hit him. Leave me alone. I happen to like this car, okay? You have your passport, Aki-chan? Oh, no! Nurse. You guys. I gotta go back through this chat because I've missed it. Oh yeah, I just read Cardinal Light. I have to lie. I have to laugh to keep from crying. Eiji never cut his hair because that's the last thing Ash touched. Don't you dare, Dexter. Don't you dare. Oh, and Claire, Eiji was the only one who let Ash take pictures of his face. Oh. I feel like the I feel like the SpongeBob meme where this mug, it's like the thing where he says, "Look, Squidward, I made you a sweater with my tears." Except I'm like, oh, look, everyone, I've gathered up all my pain into this mug. It hurts. Max's letter to Ash? Oh, stutter. I have not. See, here's the thing. I still have to read. There's 3 side stories I haven't got to. I haven't got to Flyboy in the Sky, Cape Cod 1985, or New York since. Is Max's Letter in any one of those three? You're going to love it down here in the depths of despair with the rest of us. Is Max's Letter in any one of those stories? Oh my gosh, you guys. Oh, blah, blah, blah. I can't believe this. I have to watch the animatic now because I have to now because this is just, there's so much. Like, Sing growing up. Okay, so it covers the supplemental stuff like New York Sense. Cool. All right. Oh gosh. Like Sing growing up and being this 6'3" guy, because at the very beginning of this, Sing was complaining about his size and that nobody took him seriously, and now he's like 6'3" and like a huge guy. I love that Sing isn't in the gang anymore. Not really. He's like in New York, or if he's gonna take over the Chinese mafia, he's not like just a punk. He's like a university student, and he's gonna get his MBA and be a professional, and like he went on to do this stuff. And Sing, what a glow up. What a glow up for our Sing. I grew to love Sing in the anime, and I have been told that Sing he makes an appearance in the series that Yoshida also did called Yasha. I've been told that Yasha happens in the same universe, but it's a completely different story. And so I told the person that was telling me about the animatic that when I review that, they told me what chapter Sing shows up in Yasha. And I think that I'm going to read that chapter going into the animatic, because that's just, but Eiji, let's just talk about Eiji. Eiji, not only the author makes Eiji look not only kind of like Dragon Moon with his hair, but you know who he really reminds me of? He reminds me of Blanca. Like Eiji's hair and the glasses and the way he's drawn in here reminds me a lot of how Blanca looks. Like with the hair undone and the glasses on him, he just looks a lot like that. Like, I can't believe Eiji growing out his hair. But guys, this hurt. This was like going hoarse. This was just as painful as the ending of the anime. This was just as painful as the end of the manga. Like Yoshida, how dare you? How dare you make us go through this manga and then in the last moments realize just how much Eiji and Sing, how much Ash mattered to them. Like, Sing, God, this is so good. This is so good. And the expressions here and the fact that they keep Ash's computer around with all the information that they're still using. And the fact that Sing had to see Ash's body when he died. Because he probably had to identify Lao and his body. He probably had to identify his brother's body as well as Ash's. And his fingerprints were probably on the knife that stabbed him, and that's how they knew. It's so powerful because you see, even though we didn't see Dragon Moon, we didn't see Jetlung physically in this, his presence is still there because he's talking to Sing. And you can tell that after 7 years, Ash still has so much influence over these characters and their lives. And it's just, oh my gosh, you guys. And I love the idea that it's presented through Ibe's niece, Akira. Is it bad that I kind of like want her to come back to New York and not get shipped with Sing, but with Michael? Is it bad that I want that? Because her and Michael are like the same age. Is it bad that I want that? I'm like, and Michael has Jessica's long flowy hair, but he kind of like, I always thought that Ash and Max kind of looked a little bit similar, especially towards the beginning of the anime. But I'm like, this shot of Michael, I'm like, that looks just like Ash. Yeah, what was the quote about innocence? Innocence is worse than any weapon. Oh man. And just the fact, yeah, I would much rather see Akira come back and get wooed by our otaku Michael. Like I would, because Michael, I feel like he just instantly wanted to be her friend. And I was like, that would be so funny. And I'm sure maybe she connects to Sing because she thinks he's handsome in the moment, but I'm like, yeah. What? Do they get married? I'm so spoiled. Oh, is it more of a joke? What? I'm like, wait a minute, what? But oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I This is just this story. And I saw some of you comment like in the moment because at first, I mean, I don't consider it a spoiler that you guys told me that Akira marries Sing because I'm probably not going to read Yasha the full way through. But I am probably going to go back to that chapter that was mentioned that Sing is in when I look at the animatic. So that's crazy, y'all. Oh, and New York Sense. Okay, so I am going to read that eventually. So no more spoilers about New York Sense. I want to go back and see that. Okay, but guys, this was beautiful. This was beautiful. Oh my gosh. New York Sense is 7 years after Garden of Light. So that by that point, it's like almost 20 years have passed. Oh, I can't wait to read New York Sense, guys. Now when I do the reaction to it, that's gonna be so good. I'm so excited now. Y'all don't even know. Oh, but this series, that hug between Sing and Eiji is like the crux of this story of these two characters that were so impacted by one man and his death that they finally came together and grieved together. It's just a short photo book. I might look at that when I do the animatic if it's just a short photo book. I heard NL's asking if Ash's death was because River Phoenix died. A lot of people had said that in interviews, Yoshida commented that Ash had killed all these people and he'd murdered a bunch. And so it was kind of like he wasn't going to get off scot-free for that and that his death was kind of connected to that. Yeah, Michelle, definitely come back and rewatch this. Well, this chat's been a doozy. I think, and in some respect, I get what Yoshida's trying to do there is because in that moment when Ash is running away to the airport, when he gets the airplane ticket and he finally decides, did they incorporate New York Sense in the animatic? Thank you. Going back to that comment, when Ash is running towards the airport and has the resolve to finally go after Eiji, and that's right before he gets stabbed, you get that because in that moment, Ash is like, okay, maybe wait, I can't escape this world that I've been a part in. I can go see Eiji. But then Lau comes back in to remind him, no, you've been in this world. You can't just walk out. Like you've killed all these people. You can't just walk out without any consequence. And I feel like that's what Yoshida was meaning by she said that Ash's death was as a consequence to all of his actions. It still sucks. It still hurts. And I hate it. But yeah, we didn't see how Blanca reacted to Ash's death, which is interesting. I noticed in Garden of Light, they're referencing Cape Cod, 1985. And so when they came back in, so that'll be something to bring up as well. They referenced that, but the idea that Sing and Eiji finally reconcile and they finally acknowledge just how impactful Ash was on their life. And the moment that Eiji sees the guy at Cape Cod and thinks that it's Ash and turns around and it's not him, and then Sing's immediately like, you're not over it, and you never will be. It's like, and the idea of the painting, the portrait, the picture, Dawn, come on. That was hard. This whole thing is just pain, pure pain. And the fact when she asks Sing if Eiji was Ash's lover, And he's like, more than that. That cuts to my core because it's so true. Like I get when people think when people think when people think Banana Fish is just like a BL, or like they chalk it up as just like a BL series, or I've heard some people even say that this is yaoi, and I'm like, no. When they chalk it up to that and they don't watch it because of that assumption, I'm like, no, this is so beyond that. And I'm so glad that Garden of Light brings that up. I'm so glad that Garden of Light brings that up, because Sing's like, no, they weren't lovers. It's not just a sexual thing. It's like on a soul to soul level. Like Ash and Eiji were connected like soulmates. Like it's beyond anything like a physical attraction. Like, sure, you can go back and rewatch the series. You can reread the manga and you can see the subtext there. Absolutely. Like there are so many scenes where you could say, yeah, you can see the subtext. Sure. I will never argue anybody that. But if you're just going to assume it's a BL, no, it's beyond that. It is like two people that have found each other despite all odds, and they are the most perfect people for each other, and their love is like on a spiritual level. So when he says that his soul was with Ash, and that, like Sing said, Ash sat there bleeding for hours, slowly dying, but he was okay with it because he knew that Eiji's feelings for him were mutual, that they both, their souls were with each other. And it's just, yeah. It's just, oh my God. This whole series, I hate that it gets the rep that it does, because it's not just a shoujo. It's not just a BL. It is a perfect story about two people that found each other, and it's two soulmates finding each other, and the consequences of the world that they live in and the worlds that they live in and everything along with it. It's like such a complicated web of emotions, of relationships, everything. And it's a masterpiece. If y'all see my anime list, it's a 10 out of 10. It is an experience to watch. And this epilogue was an experience to read. Like, y'all, buddy. No. And the kiss in episode 3, I commented on that. The kiss wasn't even a romantic kiss. It was a plot device for him he used his reputation, Ash's reputation as a male prostitute in that moment to get Eiji the message about Shorter. Like it was a plot device, and people blow it up out of proportion so much. And I'm like, come on. Like in the moment watching it, I was like, oh, he's trying to do this, and he's using what he knows to make sure that nobody questions it. I'm like, yeah, Michelle, Banana Fish changes lives. It's one of my favorite anime now, and I'm so happy that I've watched it, because it's like once you've seen Banana Fish, you can't go back. It's like I feel bad now because he didn't need to grab his ass. He was just making a point, Dexter. He was proving his point. I feel kind of bad now, because now I feel like I hold Banana Fish to such a high regard, and the plot twists and turns that the show does, and the way that it so perfectly creates these relationships between these characters. Like even Sing and Jutlung, 7 years later, are on good terms and working together to keep Chinatown and everything in peace. Like just the relationships, everything. It's so good that now I feel like now anytime I watch another anime or read another manga series, I'm going to find myself questioning, is this up to Banana Fish's level? I'm going to question it. And I'm like, has Banana Fish ruined anime and manga for me? It hasn't, but I'm always going to have this comparison of, is it Banana Fish good? And like you said, now I'm in the hole with all of you, and we're all part of this fandom now. I really hope that other reactors watch this series. I really hope they do, because I don't want them to write it off. I'm like, this series is so life-changing that I'm like, look, you need to see it. You're going to suffer. It's going to hurt. And you're going to cry. Like I teared up reading this in front of y'all, but it's yeah, now that I watch Banana Fix, all their anime will max out at 9 out of 10, Cater. You're not wrong. It still sticks with you. Yeah, it still sticks. And like, now that I've read this, I'm going to go back and read it like a dozen more times because there's so many parts of the panels and the expressions and the little tiny details. It's just so good. So Banana Fish has ruined everything. It's not ruined it. It's enriched our lives and made us question everything now. Now everything has to be held up to a higher standard. So, yeah. Thank you guys so much. The last thing I want to talk about is Catcher in the Rye, and I told y'all I'd bring that up. Catcher in the Rye, and then what I'm doing next with Banana Fish. So Catcher in the Rye, J.D. Salinger. How appropriate that J.D. Salinger, the one that Banana Fish references from the beginning, we end the series with a book by him. How appropriate. How appropriate indeed. But anyway, Catcher in the Rye, I always associate it with the assassin of John Lennon because he was obsessed with that book, apparently. But the idea is that a depressed 16-year-old lives in an unspecified institution in California at the end of World War II. After discharge for a month, he intends to go live with his brother, who is a war veteran. Talk about Griffin. Oh my gosh. And recalls the various events. And it goes basically along the lines of him going back to his brother and the events that happen there. And then it just basically rounds out with him finally finding happiness at the sight of being around others that he's with. And if that does not connect to Ash finally finding happiness, realizing Eiji was in his life, like the character in Catcher in the Rye figures out happiness was with the people that he was around at the time. And for Ash, it's the exact same thing. Like he finds that with Eiji. I question why Catcher in the Rye was the choice of the title at the very end. I really thought it'd be like Farewell to Arms or something like that, but it makes perfect sense. The Salinger connection, the idea of these characters figuring out what happiness is and being satisfied with it. It all connects to Ash at the end dying. Like, oh my gosh. So where to go to from here? Because we're almost at 3.5 hours for this chat. I am going to react to the animatic. I can't give you all a specific time. It'll be in the next few weeks. I'll get to it and react to it. And I will probably do Flyboy in the Sky and Cape Cod 1985, maybe along with it, depending on how long the animatic is. I've got it saved on YouTube. I just obviously haven't watched it yet because of that. But I'm going to react to the animatic. And if New York Sense is involved with it too, then that'll be good. And then Flyboy in the Sky and Cape Cod, I want to do that as well. And look at Yasha. It's chapter 46 is what I've been told, has a cameo by Sing. And I want to reference that when I look at the Garden of Light animatic. It'll be probably a while before I read Yasha if I do. But that's what I want to do animation. That's what I want to do Banana Fish wise after this. So there will be a little bit more Banana Fish at least. And y'all know that I'm eventually I'm gonna rewatch this series and reread it. I mean, let's be real. I'm amazed this series doesn't have an English dub. I did not realize that until I was nearly done with the anime, and then somebody's like, "We need to petition for an English dub," and I was like, "This series doesn't have an English dub. It's been out for a couple of years." To be fair, though, Uchida, that does the voice acting for Ash, I do not know if any English voice actor can match up to Uchida's greatness in this role. Like Uchida, he's got other roles now. Like he is Fushiguro in Jujutsu Kaisen, which I'm watching, which I love. I just don't know if anybody can match up to his performance because it's so damn good. Uchida's just so perfect as Ash that I don't know if it could match up. So I understand that. And you guys are saying it's because it's on Amazon. That makes sense too, why they don't have it licensed. But I'm okay with it not having a dub right now because it's so perfect as it is. But it just surprised me. You know, usually when a series is popular or has a claim like Banana Fish, you think that they would give it a dub. But yeah, Yuma Uchida, chef's kiss by and large. Yeah. But that might also be weird too, because then Eiji's speaking in English the whole time. That might also be interesting. Yeah, so we shall see. But y'all, the series that won the poll to replace. I don't think anything can replace Banana Fish. Just like Eiji and Sing talk about, Ash is irreplaceable, and so is this show. But the series that won the poll to be watched after Banana Fish is Bungo Stray Dogs. And I am pretty excited about it. I'm not going to lie. So episode 1 and episode 2 are out on Patreon for it. But when this chat is over, y'all, I'm going to be making episode 1 of Bungo Stray Dogs public on here. So you guys will get to, we're not going to wait a week in between. It's going to be Bungo Stray Dogs is going to start right after this chat gets over and everything. So you guys can see episode 1, my reaction to it. And then we'll start Bungo Stray Dogs, which it's 3 seasons of 12 episodes. So it's kind of like a season and a half of Banana Fish. Should be fun times. I'm liking the show already, so I'm excited for you guys to watch it with me. It's going to be fun times. But thank you guys so much for joining me in this chat. We had a little tech issue at the beginning, but I really appreciate it. You guys have been so awesome for voting for the show, and for week to week. I can't tell you how much I've looked forward to whenever an episode of Banana Fish came out. I was like, okay, what are we going to comment about? And yes, I am going to do the movie Dead Apple too. I know it comes after season 2. I've got it marked on my anime to get to. But yeah, this stream is going to be uploaded. It's going to be on the channel in the Banana Fish playlist. I've got to edit the thumbnail since we redid the stream. I got to edit the thumbnail and put the links to Private Opinion and Garden of Light in there. But oh my gosh, I can't believe you guys stayed with me for 3.5 hours. Oh, thank you all so much. This is so much fun. Like I said, in the Run with the Wind stream, every time we end a series, I'm going to do a YouTube live stream of it. So the next series that we end will be, oh my gosh, probably either Jujutsu Kaisen or Skate the Infinity will probably be the next 2 that end. So we'll do streams for those when we get to them. But yeah, this was so much fun. Painful as it was a lot of fun. I feel like we all shared the pain, so it was better that way. It was dispersed amongst many, so it wasn't like totally concentrated. We'll just go with that. But thank you guys so much for watching this. And thank you guys so much for every week to week with Banana Fish. I would get so excited to see your comments with the episodes. I'm like, okay, what are people going to talk about? Because you guys point out things that I miss and don't realize. And then when I go back and read your comments, I'm like, oh yeah, that part, that. And then I can bring it up in later videos. So y'all are awesome. Thank you. I've got a little bit more of this to drink. And I'm gonna edit the chat and get it all read up and do all that. And then Bungo Stray Dogs is gonna come out this afternoon on here, like within the next half hour or so. I'll make it public and get the stream up here. So if you missed parts of the stream, you can go back and rewatch it. But this was so much fun, guys. Thank you all so much for joining me. And I will look forward to seeing you guys in the comment section of the other videos, hopefully. I hope you all, no matter what your time zone is, I hope you guys have a wonderful day, a wonderful night, a wonderful week ahead. Thank you all so much. And take care, stay safe, and I'll be back with you all again soon with more live streams in the future, and definitely with more reactions. So I'll see you guys all again soon. Take care, and bye.